What up, IDS Mob? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. This is the show where you go to learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Happy Tuesday. I hope you all are having a wonderful 4th of July week. Obviously, the holidays are coming up, and so there's going to be barbecues and all these other great things coming up soon. And I hope that you are able to have a wonderful time, hopefully off from work. Hopefully you're not working on the holiday and you're able to actually get some rest, spend time with family, friends, and of course, food. But thank you with that said for watching this show today, because I know you didn't take time out of your day to watch this, and I greatly appreciate it. So today's show, we are talking all about why it is okay for you as a guy to give the bare minimum to women that you are in the process of dating. And I'm going to get into why it is I wanted to cover this particular subject. Before we do that, though, we got a couple of other questions we're going to answer as people are coming in. And of course, the show is ultimately about you guys. So if you have any questions you want to ask me during the course of the show, you can leave them in the chat and I will eventually get to them. But we have a lot to cover today. I got videos I'm going to be reviewing. I got stuff I'm going to be talking about as it pertains to you giving the bare minimum as a guy and that being perfectly fine. So we'll get into all that on today's episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show.
It's the Introvert Dating Success Podcast, the show for introverted men that's all about learning how to attract beautiful women and still get your precious alone time. And now, here's your host, dating coach and fellow introvert, Harry Wilmington.
All right, guys. So be sure, as you're on your way in, be sure to give this video a like. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Harry Wilmington. I give men's dating advice to men out there that need help in the dating sphere. And so feel free to subscribe to this channel. I do a live once a week, every Tuesday at 5 p.m. And I also have videos that come out throughout the course of the week that are usually like snippets from this live because I talk about a lot of stuff normally. So with that said, guys, today, before we get into the main topic, as people are coming in, I did have a couple of comments that I got this week / questions that I want to kind of go over and answer. Of course, like I said, if you have a question you want to ask, you definitely can do that. And by the way, this show is brought to you by my website, introvertdatingsuccess.com, where I have my major program there called the Introvert Dating Success Academy Community. And so if you're a guy that is having trouble navigating the dating waters and needs my help, all the programs I've ever put out ever that I've charged hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for are now all under one umbrella for a very reasonable monthly price. But you'll go there, you'll get to learn the ins and outs of how to attract women. We have blueprints on how to go through the attraction process, how to do online dating. You'll get to hear from me versus as well as other experts in the space. And of course, we have our community where you can chat with other guys and have discussions about what's working, what's not working. So ultimately, this all helps you to better your dating life and your understanding of women. If that's interest of you, go to the website, read the first page. And if you like what you see, you could join today. All right. You can cancel it anytime. So definitely check that out. All right. So with that said, let's get into the first comment that I got. It's a very short comment, but I had a guy leave a simple comment this week and he said, should you ever ask her why she pulled away and say, cool? So I guess this is in reference to, I did a video that's very popular of talking about pull away test and when women pull away and why they pull away. And so this guy's wanting to know, at the point that say she reaches out and you guys start connecting again, should you ever ask her, hey, so what is it that made you pull away? And my honest answer is it's generally not worth your time. Like, for one, if a woman comes back to you, she's already, whatever thing you were doing that was annoying, or whatever indiscretion you did, or whatever like that, her coming back to you is her way of saying, I've forgiven, or I've moved past it, or that's not annoying to me anymore. But when she comes back, she's not going to be like, hey, so-and-so, so you were doing this thing that was like really annoying to me. And so I pulled back, but now I've been away from you for a while and I miss you. So let's get back together. Like, women aren't going to be that forthcoming as to why they're getting back with you. And what men typically do is they think, well, she came back, but before I can continue to connect with her, I need to have a serious conversation with her about why it is that she pulled away in the first place so I can get intel on what I did to not do that thing again. And I found that women typically feel very uncomfortable having that conversation and don't want it. So it behooves you as a guy to start digging in about what things could I have done that made her pull away. Objectively, most guys are doing one of several things. Either they're being too needy, they're sending a lot of texts, they're asking for too much of her time, they're not listening to her when she just wants to be listened to versus being given advice on stuff. Like, those are some general things that you as a guy are probably doing that you could start looking at to see, okay, I was doing these things, or maybe start to notice as you were texting her a lot more, she was backing away. So you know, okay, maybe you shouldn't text her as much. Or if you were trying to see her 3 or 4 times out the week, and it's like, you know, you've only dated her 3 or 4 dates, it could be that, oh, you were asking for too much of her time at a time when she wasn't quite ready to give you all that time. Maybe that's worth researching, all right? But usually women will come back and say, hey, so-and-so, blah, 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 let's get, and they won't say get back together. But when they come back into your sphere, that means that they want to get asked on dates again. And you just have to kind of be knowledgeable of, like, okay, what things are going on. Now, is that said, obviously, guys will hear that and think like, Harry, that's horrible advice. Like, why can't I just ask what I did? Here's the reality, guy. If most women are being honest with themselves, it was a feeling that you gave them of some kind, but they don't know exactly what the thing is that you did that gave them the feeling that they wanted to pull away. So you try and ask her, now it makes her have to go back into the bag of thinking about all the negative things you did in the first place that caused her to ghost you the first time, and that could lead her to want to do it again. So I'm not in the habit of doing that. I find that I just get really introspective and start thinking about, okay, so she pulled away. Maybe she had somebody else in the background. Maybe I was doing some stuff. Maybe it just wasn't the time in her life. Whatever it is, I'm going to give her space and let her figure out her own situation while I go over here and talk to other women. And if she decides at some point to come back, then it is what it is. We'll start off, you know, continuing previously on from what we were doing before, but hopefully I'll know by then what it is that I did, and I can continue on from there, you know? So hopefully that answers that guy's question. I know it's probably not the most perfect answer you could get, but that's the honest truth, is that I don't typically, if women that come back to me, I don't typically ask, hey, just I'm curious, like, what did you do? What did I do that caused you to pull away, blah, 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 because it's uncomfortable and they usually don't have a good answer, and it's not going to make you satisfied at whatever they answer anyway, you know? So that was the first comment I got. And then there was another comment I got. I've done a couple of videos now talking about like consistency and texting, and how, you know, sometimes women will pull away and then they'll come back. And so it's good to kind of like not do so much in the beginning as a guy, which is going to be like a main crux of what we talk about in today's main topic. But so this guy left a comment and he said, just started talking to a girl, and she said, she asked why didn't I send her a good morning text? I know that's a big no-no. So I said, quote, it's Saturday morning, figured you slept in, so I didn't want to disturb you. This is what sucks. She'll be turned off if I send one tomorrow, so I won't. If she says something again, I'll say, quote, I don't want to come across as needy. So this is the conundrum that you as a guy are going to face when you start doing things the right way, is that even if you're doing things the right way, sometimes women will come to you and question why you aren't doing things the way that she's traditionally used to having them done, which is by most men the wrong way. So in this example, we have a guy who's dating a woman, and now she's saying to him, hey, why didn't you send a good morning text? Why is she sending that text if sending a good morning text isn't going to actually cause her to get more attractive? Well, because again, just because something doesn't work on a woman doesn't mean that she's not going to find it weird not getting that thing if that's what she's used to. Most women are used to coming across guys whereby after that first date, by the time they get home, the guy's already sent a text. And then the next morning, the guy texts, oh, good morning, beautiful. How was your day? Or how was your morning so far? I just want you to know once again that I had a great time on that date, and I can't wait to see you again. And women are used to guys doing those things. Now, doing those things doesn't actually work to build attraction to women, but that does not mean that it's not going to weird her out when you don't do it. Because if she dated 10 guys, like she went out on 10 dates with 10 different guys, and 9 of those guys sent a good morning text, that is the behavior that she's expecting. It's not the behavior that's going to build attraction, mind you, but that is the behavior she's expecting. So when you don't do it, it's going to throw her off, because that's a signal for her that more or less when all those other guys text her in the morning, that's a signal to her that those other guys definitely like her. Even if she's not ready to feel that level of like yet at where she's at in her dating process, that is what she's used to. And so then you come along, guy number 10, take her on a date, you don't send an after date text, and then the next morning, there's no good morning text. Now, a level of her subconscious is like, wow, finally, a guy that's not texting me all the time or right away after a date. But the part of her that is used to that is thinking, but this seems like out of whack. And then she's experiencing a new feeling that she has not gotten with any other guy. And that is doubt about how well she potentially did on a date. You see, other guys reaching out to her the next morning give her an indication that whatever she did on that date, she was attractive, she was funny, she was fine, because they are contacting her, trying to get her attention again, which gives her indications that she did a good job, pat on the back for her, right? But then you don't do it. And this is the first time she's ever felt that thing of like, I'm not sure if I did a good job. Like, I went on a date. I think I showed him a good time. He clearly was laughing and jovial, and I had my girl stacked up here. Like, I did all the things, and he's not texting me or calling me or saying what's up or saying good morning to me. Like, that feels weird. What is it that I didn't do on this date that's making him not text me or call me? Now, obviously, if you're watching my show, you know that if you want a woman to get more curious about you and you want her to reach out to you, that you should not be reaching out to her, and that your program should be you take her on a good date, you show her a good time, and then you wait a minimum of 4 days before initiating a text to her to ask her out for another date. So you already have in your mind, you are going to reach out and ask her for another date. It's just not going to be right away, because I don't know about you. I found in my dating experience that doing that, she might accept the second date, but by that third or fourth date, she's starting to bring up excuses or go ghost or not answer me back. And so I just learned that the more patient I am in doling out text and doling out asking for dates, that usually resulted in me getting better results. But this woman has gone through a lifetime of, I go on a date with the guy, he texts the next morning. I go on a date with the guy, he texts the next morning. And then she goes out with you, she went on a date with you, and there's no text. And what's going on? And so now this has now put you in the driver's seat, because now she's going to be the one to reach out to you. So that way she can calm her ego down and not be thinking thoughts of like, am I not attractive? Did I do the wrong thing? Whatever. And that's exactly where you want her to be, because if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. But if you are the one after that first date that's always reaching out and always trying to ask, like, it's going to result in, she's going to be like, okay, yeah, he likes me just like all the other guys. And none of those guys stayed around also. So you don't lose points for not texting. Now, that said, when you don't do that, some women will do like this woman did, where they will ask you, hey, so I'm just curious, why didn't you send a good morning text? And what she's trying to say is, why didn't you validate me? Why didn't you send me a thing that lets me know I did a good job on this date? And this is not where you want to go in with serious answers, because men take women's reaction sometimes as it's a serious test, and I got to give serious answers, because if I don't give her a serious answer or let her know that I really do care about her, then she's going to like think I'm playing games and she's not going to date me anymore. Again, this is simply, she is not used to this kind of behavior, but it does not mean you now take what she says or how she's feeling at a serious level. So he responded and said, well, it's Saturday, so I figured you'd be sleeping in, blah, blah, blah. My honest response would have been, if I didn't send her a text, and she sent me a text in the morning saying, hey, so why didn't you send me a good morning text? I'd be sending something like, well, why didn't you send me a text? Like, you could have said hi to me. Like, I'm sitting over here, sitting by my phone, waiting for you, LOL. Like, I would have made a joke out of it and then be like, this isn't a big deal. And I'd be like, or I would have just been like, I was waiting to see your gorgeous words on my phone. Gorgeous, how you doing? And then gone into, last night was fun, wasn't it? Hey, I'm busy now. We should plan another date sometime soon. Let me know if you're free, X day. Like, I would have been gone into trying to plan out a future date. Because here's another thing, guys. When women reach out to you, that means that they want your attention. And that is a great time to then ask her on another date. Now, you don't want to make the mistake of like, well, she texts you, hey, why don't you text me? And then be like, oh, let's see each other tonight. No. I'm still on the mantra of like, as best you can, you try to do a minimum or really a maximum of one, no more than 2 dates a week. So let's say if he texted her, she texted him on a Saturday, which means they went out Friday night. I'm not a fan of Friday dates, but it is what it is. But the point is this, right? So if we went out on a Friday, I wouldn't be trying to go on another date with her until like that next Wednesday or Thursday, unless she was the one that said, hey, I got some free time on Monday. Let's do something. If she brings up that she's free earlier in the week to see me, then I would be like, hey, that sounds great. Let's do that. But if not, the goal here, guys, is that you want to look like you have things going on outside of just trying to date her, because women like guys that have a life outside of them, that are chasing goals and have other friends and family and are making plans and doing things, right? So again, you don't lose points for delaying a date by a little bit. Yes, she hit you up on a Saturday. That doesn't mean you plan a date for that Saturday or Sunday. It means, hey, good to hear from you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Hey, let's plan a date for this upcoming Tuesday or Wednesday. Like, I still try to put it 3 or 4 days out from that actual texting situation. But all that to say, guys, yeah, when she reaches out and asks you questions like, why don't you send me a good morning morning text. Why don't you call me? I don't hear from you enough. This is not where you get into serious answers, all right? This is where you go into jovial answers. It goes into you're trying to plan another date. And then don't think that you also need to now up your texting game or up your phone game, because women will trick you into thinking you need to be texting me more often. And I don't feel like you appreciate blah, blah, blah. You don't love me because you're not texting me so much. And again, that is on them. It is not your job to try to cater to their ego by texting them all the time and calling them all the time at their request. Because as you, as a guy probably know, sometimes women will request things of you that when you do them, they're suddenly turned off by it and they don't understand why. And it's because they still want you as a guy to understand how the game go. They might throw you occasional curveballs that say, oh, I want this and this and that, but that doesn't mean that they need those things and that they help build attraction. What it means is, for whatever reason, she's having a moment where she's not feeling, her ego is not allowing her to feel in this situation as though you truly care for her the way that you're supposed to. But if you're looking realistically, after like 2 or 3 dates, it shouldn't be that at all. So you don't owe this woman at the moment more texting. You don't owe sending certain texts to make her feel that she's fully knows what's going on with you as it pertains to your attraction level, stuff like that. Like, it's perfectly fine to not give up all that stuff. And if they question you about it, again, don't take it seriously. That's just them having self-doubt. That is not on you to quote that. Your job is to ask for dates, take them out, show them a good time, wait between dates to contact them. And then if they reach out to you in between those dates, yes, you have conversations with them then. But we're not in the habit of you trying to hit up a girl to say, hey, good morning. What's up? How you doing, gorgeous? Like, those things to this day do not actually build attraction with most women. What builds attraction is you take them on dates, you show them the best time you possibly can, and then you give them the gift of missing you, which will help them and their brain it'll help their brain convince themselves that they are falling for you because they're wanting your attention. But why do they want it so much? They wish you would reach out. But why do they want you to reach out? It's because this is what helps her to convince herself that, oh, I might actually be falling for this guy. And that can't happen if you're always reaching out. So I'm glad that the guy left that comment. Hopefully that is working out. I'd love to get some more updates on what is happening with that situation. All right. Good evening, Green Thumb. Thanks for joining. So we're going to go into the main crux of the show because I got a lot of videos to look over and things to talk about. But before we do that, as always, guys, I have a bunch of stuff at the website that can help you out. I got programs, I got one-on-one coaching, and of course, I have ebooks, which you will learn about right now. Hey guys, Harry Williamson here, and I just want to tell you really quickly about some of the awesome ebooks that I have available at the website. So to start off with, we have my brand new book, Stop Losing Women, which is based off of my previous podcast, and it's over 284 pages of life-changing advice for your dating life. You're going to discover in the span of these pages the ins and outs of how to become more confident, the do's and don'ts of how to attract women, how to pace yourself during the dating process, and ultimately what it truly takes for you to be a more confident dater so that way you can get out there, attract women, and more importantly, stop losing women, okay? The other ebook that I have on my website is called No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. This is the first book that I ever wrote, and simply put, it is a 12-chapter masterpiece that is designed to, in a very funny way, mind you, guide you through the ins and outs of why all the things you're trying to do right now to attract women can actually cause you to lose them. I mean, things like being the nice guy, overextending yourself, getting too many gifts, too many compliments, and a variety of other things that you may think as a guy I should be doing. This funny book's going to help you figure out once for all why you should not do those things and how to better yourself instead. So be sure to check that book out as well. The other book that's been very popular at my website is called Texting Like a Boss. This is where, for all you guys out there that have problems texting women or don't understand why she starts off so chummy in the terms of the texting things, and then she starts to kind of go away and you can't figure out what's going on or why, or you're not an efficient enough texter to be able to actually get dates by way of texting. Well, this book is going to give you 21 do's and don'ts that are tried, true, and tested, so that way you can get the results that you want with women when you're texting them, and ultimately not do the wrong things that are going to cause her to eventually ghost you in the texting room. All right. So check that book out at the website. Lastly, my other popular book that I have there is called 10 Steps to Winning Back Your Ex, the step-by-step, no-nonsense guide to reconnecting with an old flame, regardless of who ended the relationship. And so for you guys that are like, hey, I think I lost a great one and she left me and I want to get her back. Or you might have been the guy that's like, hey, I dumped her and then I realized I made a mistake and I want to get her back. Well, this book covers both of those scenarios in a very detailed step-by-step way that is designed to allow you to figure out what you did wrong, how you can show up better, and the sequence of events you need to go through in order to effectively win back the woman that you are no longer with. So if these things sound like things that'll be helpful to you, then definitely go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the products tab, where you can find a summary of all these books as well as my various programs, and they will be more than happy in helping you figure out whatever part of the dating journey you're on, so that way you will not be confused and you will ultimately be able to have the dating life that you want. So check those out at the website today. And by the way, guys, all those books are available individually at my website, but you also get access to all those ebooks when you join the Introvert Dating Success Academy community. Aside from just getting access to my various video and audio programs, as well as a community of guys that you can talk to, bounce ideas off of. And also, I jump in there once or twice a week to give you guys the times to ask me questions and stuff like that. But yeah, those books also become available as part of that program. And again, you pay a monthly fee. You can cancel anytime, but it's definitely worth you checking out that academy and seeing if it's right for you, because I would grow simply by joining that program, right? So with all that said, guys, let's get into it. So today we're talking about why it is okay to give the bare minimum to women when you're dating. And here's how I came up with doing this show. So in Hollywood here, I go to various events and film things. And so a couple months ago, I had to go film a person interviewing various Black politicians and people that are just in politics in general and helping out with the election and stuff like that, just to interview them for a show. And so there was a lady on the show that was talking, and the interviewer asked her about, President Biden. This is not a political show, so this isn't me saying, oh, vote for who or this and that. I'm just saying who they were talking about, right? So they were talking about Biden, and this lady had the nerve to say, because the interviewer had asked, how do we feel about Biden? Are we going to be voting for him this year? This and that. And so there's a lot of people that have come out and said things like, he's doing okay, but we want to make sure we cover all the bases and stuff, make sure he's doing his job, whatever. But anyway, so this lady was like, sure, he was able to, lower the deficit, and sure, he helped cancel student loans, but that's really the bare minimum for a president. If he was a guy we were dating, wouldn't we expect more from him? Shouldn't he be doing more than just lowering the deficit and getting us out of college debt? That's the bare minimum. And I'm behind the camera doing all I can to not scream and say oh my God, a president doing any kind of anything is probably way harder to get done than you would imagine. Again, even when Trump was in office, I went to an HBCU. Trump gave money to HBCUs. Getting that bill passed, that takes hours on end, that takes discussion, that takes having to come to agreements and things. Any of that work, even some so-called simple bills aren't just the simplest thing, right? But this lady's coming from a position of boom, it just happened, boom, it just happened. But that's just the bare minimum. We should expect more. And it's a narrative that I've particularly seen women do over the years, where there's this movement now of women saying, we no longer accept the bare minimum from life in general, but especially from men. If they're just giving us the bare minimum in dating and the bare minimum in relationships, well, we're not accepting that anymore. And I find that very interesting for the simple fact that what exactly is the bare minimum? And depending on the woman you're talking to, it fluctuates. If you're talking to women that are younger, they have way more expectations from a guy than a woman that's, say, in her late 30s and 40s, where the pickings is slim and they have to just go for whatever's left, And so I really want to do a show for you guys today, because some of you guys are probably hearing this narrative of, well, I think that you guys should be giving more than just the bare minimum, and you're confused. Because on one hand, you'll try to, if you try to give the bare minimum, you're seen as a sucker. But then if you try to give more than the bare minimum, women feel some way about that also, and you're still not getting women, whether you're doing the most or doing the little. So for me, my thing is this, is that I genuinely believe as a guy that in a relationship, in the day-to-day of you being with the person, you're going to be doing more of the bare minimum than you are doing maximum output or extracurricular activities. But if you're bad at doing the bare minimum, then you're not going to have a successful relationship. But I really wanted to go over specifically, got my notes here, why it's okay to give the bare minimum. And we're going to talk about things that are considered the bare minimum these days, that in other words, the bare minimum we're going to define is women are saying, these things are things we already expect of men. And so if they're giving those things, they're not doing anything extra to show me why I'm particularly special. They need to do more. And I found like 10 videos on TikTok of people talking about this idea of bare minimum. And so I want to show you those videos. I'm going to react to them, and I'm going to get into these various talking points, some of which I'll get into in the course of reacting to these videos, right? So I didn't mark these videos. I don't know what order they're in. So let me just put them up. Let me put them up on the screen here. One second here real quick. Let me get my little screen here. So let me put this up to the stage. Let's talk about, I'm going to show you these videos bit by bit, and I'll react to them in real time so you guys get to see what I'm talking about. But all these videos, and they're going to see both a set of women and men talking about this idea of the bare minimum, and we're going to talk about it, all right? And feel free to leave your comments in the chat, because I'd love to get your commentary on what these people are saying as well, because it ain't just me here, you know? So let's go ahead and get into it. This is the first lady.
Stop begging for the bare minimum. Flowers, bare minimum. Communication, bare minimum. Loyalty, bare fucking minimum. You need to understand that this isn't Build-A-Bear. You shouldn't be teaching people how to do these things. There's literally over 7 billion people in this world. What one man won't do, another man will.
I hate that phrase so much. So you hear her, right? So this woman comes on here and says, well, you know, the bare minimum is giving flowers and doing all the stuff involved. Like, she's basically saying, like, all this stuff that you guys are traditionally used to doing, you know what? That's not good enough. Like, if I see you on a date doing those things, I'm going to know that you're just giving minimal effort and I'm out. And so there are women out there these days that are considering just taking him out on a date as not good enough. But here's my question. If you're just starting to date a woman, right? That means you do not have enough time built in with her to really know what it is she likes, dislikes, what she's expecting from a relationship, her things that she really like wants in a man in general. Like, you don't know those things, right? So you going into a dating situation with a woman and her having high expectations already of the things you're doing, you should be doing more than that. And you're like, but you don't know what those are because you just met her. Those are the kind of women that in the long run are going to be very, very high maintenance. All right. So that was the first video. Let's go into the second one. I think this is a guy talking. I think this is Ace Metaphor, who does he does a very popular the conversation show on YouTube. So let's check out his video.
Be careful about dating bare minimum men. You know, the men that just do enough to keep you from leaving, like give you just enough attention so that you don't feel totally neglected. No, these men can't love you the way you want to be loved, and you.
So he's coming from a good place. He's trying to say, if you're in a relationship with the guy that's giving the bare minimum, then you should not be with him. I'm actually don't mind that message too much, except for the fact that the problem is this also then carries over to guys that are dating, because women will say, I don't want to take a guy that's just giving me the bare minimum. And then she'll apply that standard, which should be on somebody she's already in a relationship with, and put that over onto a guy that she's just dating for the first time. So listen to what he says next.
Know it. You need to find somebody that loves you out of abundance, somebody that's thoughtful without you asking, someone that wants to go the extra mile, not just somebody that gives you just enough attention to keep you there.
So what does he say here? He says you need a guy that's going to overextend himself, go the extra mile, all this other stuff, right? Now, here's the problem, is that men will see this and men will think, oh, crap, you know, he's right. You know what? In my last relationship, I wasn't giving enough. So you know what? From now on, when I go out and I start dating a woman, on day one, I'm going to give her all the stuff. I'm going to overextend. I'm going to overthink about her. You know, it's funny. There's a scene in the movie Hitch, which I hate that movie to this day now because I've seen it, and just Will Smith getting this girl after 3 dates and then falling in love. It's a rarity. So I don't want you guys to fall for that, right? But on the first date that he took Eva Mendez's character on was a water skiing date, not water skiing, like water. They have the boats, the motorboat, the water boats. So anyway, takes her on that date, right? So they do that part, and then they ride over to Ellis Island, and Will Smith's character had her walk up to this book that was there and find like her grandfather, right? And so kind of find out Will Smith's character Hitch had done research before, and he's trying to do all the extra, right? So he's done research to her and her family and her lineage, and he done found that, oh, her grandfather actually came over on Ellis Island from overseas and got on the boat and was like here, and oh my God, and she's gonna totally like that, right? So that seems like it would be a positive thing, because he did the most. He overextended, right? He did more than he needed to really try to impress this girl. Except find out that the grandfather was actually like a really murderous dude, and like the family was actually ashamed. And so when she saw the name, she started like hyperventilating and crying and darn near throwing up. And then she had to tell him, oh yeah, like my great grandfather was like a bad dude. But he was doing the most. He was doing extra. And so this is the thing about doing extra, guys. You're thinking you're coming into this trying to do all the things. But the reality is you do not know enough about her to know if she's going to even appreciate your extra. Something as simple as like giving flowers. I got allergies, so I can't be around that much pollen. You're going on a date thinking, girls like flowers. I'm going to do the most. I'm going to get her like a dozen red roses. I'll find out later she either is allergic to roses or flashback to an ex that she had that beat her with roses. Point is, you don't know. So you trying to do more than the bare minimum on those first couple of dates could result in you potentially running into problems that you did not think were going to be there. On top of, again, the purpose of these early dates is to get to know the person, their likes, their dislikes, so that way you can start to get a better idea of what's going to work effectively when you're trying to connect with them. And women these days are going on dates thinking, okay, it's the first date, go. He needs to impress me with like the best restaurant, and he needs to take me to a show or concert. He needs to put me in an Uber Black if he wants me to ride the thing, like all these things. And none of these things are things that actually build attraction. So you doing the most is actually to your detriment because there's no guarantee that you're going to get any payoff from that. But this guy will have you thinking you need to do also. And it's like, and this is the thing, I want you to understand, as a guy, we are not the best at what I call dial tuning. Like, women's attraction for us builds over the course of like a 2 or 3 month period, right? So it's like turning up a dial. As guys, we see a woman that's hot, we're already thinking she looks good, huge boobs, I could bang her, let's do this, I can make it work, right? So we go from like literally off switch, not knowing a girl, to on switch, right? But there needs to be a dial up of that. And so in the process of building attraction, you build towards doing other things. You don't start off at a 10, because then what happens is this. If you start off with a woman at a 10, right? 10 now becomes to her your bare minimum effort. And so the next time you try to show up to her, give him 10 effort, she's going to think, he gave that last time. He's being lazy. That's not enough. Oh my God, I knew he was actually a lazy guy. And you're not trying to get that off. So if you start at a lower level and then each time you're incrementally adding things, then to her it looks like, oh, he's doing more each time. Oh my God. And most level-headed, sane women date that way and understand like that's how it works for them, and that's fine. Women out here that are gold diggers will be the ones that want you to do 10 effort all the time until it gets boring for them. They're gonna want more effort until they leave you for a guy that can do more. But I digress. So that was that video. So let me take this one down here. So let's go to this next video here. I don't know what it is, but we'll take it to the stage and see what she says.
I just saw a video of a woman who was running in a marathon, and when she looks over, she notices a friend of hers flew in from London to watch her finish. The friend flew in for like 24 hours. And she sees the friend and she immediately starts bawling. She's like crying and running. And you could tell she's like overjoyed that her friend would do such a thing. I think sometimes when men are questioning why women are choosing to be single, why some women don't want to be in relationships, and I think it's because for some women, they experience such rich relationships in their lives with their friendships and with their family, people who show up for them, who believe in them, who cheer for them, who hype them up, who give them all this confidence because they're always complimenting them and being sweet towards them. It's hard to go from that to a man who won't text you back, who won't call you, who doesn't compliment you, who doesn't plan dates. I think sometimes the other relationships in a woman's life set the standard for what she will and won't settle for. She's not going to let every other relationship in her life be amazing and hers with you be like her settling for the bare minimum.
That phrase again. All right, so let's unpack that, right? Because it's not that everything she said here is completely wrong. It's just women, when they say these things, again, they're trying to talk to men and let men know these things, but they're not understanding that men, if you're not giving men instructions on the timing of when this happens, then we get lost and assume it starts on date one. So she's saying, well, a woman will have a friend fly out from wherever just to see her for a day. And so women want that same effort from a guy. But the problem is a lot of women are looking at that from their friends and saying, I need that from my guy day one. So it's not fair because a day one guy isn't going to be there for her like that. She done been friends with this woman probably since like grade school. So for the new guy to come in and to have these expectations of, and now you got to be there for me all the time, this and that, you got to do some lot. One, she hasn't even proven to that guy if she's going to be a worthy enough partner, if she's going to stick around, if she's going to go ghost, if she's going to have good communication skills, or if she's going to be a hassle, if she's going to let him, still be the guy and let him lead the relationship. Like, there needs to be some level of, she has to prove that she's going to be these things to you before you are just automatically going to be there for her, because it's good. It is great for you to be there for your woman. And there's something else you said earlier. Let me go back to that real quick. Hold on a second here.
Who won't call you? Who doesn't compliment you?
Okay. The thing about like, oh, she's saying like, it's weird to get with a guy that's not going to call you and text and snap. So again, these are examples of women say these things, and they're saying them with the thought of a guy that I'm already with should be doing these things. We as guys hear that and say, oh, so every guy that she dates should be doing these things. So for example, she says, well, I shouldn't be with a guy that's not gonna be texting me all the time. Well, I have found in my own experience of dating, and probably you have too, that texting women a lot in the beginning results in them heading for the hills. So she's giving decent advice for when you're in a relationship, but these are not things that work well when you're in the dating phase. And a woman might say to you, well, I need more effort than that, but then you do that effort. You start over texting, over calling, getting flowers, over complimenting, and then she starts going ghost, and you're sitting there thinking, but she said she wanted all these things. And that's why women don't give the best advice, because they're trying to give advice from the perspective of, if I was already in a relationship with this guy, these are the things that I would want. And the things that women need in the dating process versus in a relationship process, a lot of times there are a lot of differences between those processes. Yes, a woman that you're in a relationship with, you can get away with initiating a tad bit more text than you were in the dating phase. But in the dating phase, that is horrible advice. And so for this woman to say, you need to give more than a bare minimum of texting and calling and complimenting, again, I have found that overextending myself to a woman who I've only gone on a few dates with usually results in her feeling a bit weirded out by that, and it causes her to feel like there's too much pressure, and they go ghost. So this, in effect, is partially good advice, but bad advice, because again, she doesn't, and most listen to, most women aren't aware of that timing needs to be taught to guys. Like I had a conversation the other day with a friend where I was like, the main problem that most guys have is that they're trying to do things and they don't know that there's a timeline involved. So for example, it's not the worst thing in the world to text a woman, but knowing when it's okay to text her a lot versus a little, that develops as you get to know her more, and she starts to feel more and more trust for you and wants more of your attention. And honestly, I find even with that, you'll find that as she starts to have more interest, she'll be the one to reach out a lot more to you. It's just because, you'll be at work, working on stuff, working on your goals. She'll hit you up, hey cutie, just want to see how you're doing today. Like, they want to do that. What they don't want is a guy that thinks he needs to do more than the bare minimum by texting and calling all the time and asking her out nonstop and trying to constantly talk about feelings and past hurts. And like, women don't actually want that. They might be telling you that they want that. And I've heard women say, well, if women are telling guys that they want these things, they should listen to them. The problem most men have is they listen to women when they say these things, they do them, and then they don't get results and can't figure out why. So just want to put that out there. So then that was that video. Let's go to the next one here. This is a guy that's talking.
Dating.
Stop.
Minimum effort, maximum reward. Ladies, welcome to the Daddy Academy. Okay, a man will always try to get the maximum out of you, which is sexy time, with the minimum amount of effort possible. So if all he has to do is set dates or just hookups or whatever, if you're going over to his house, I don't know what you're doing. But if all he has to do is set those dates and he's getting what he wants and he doesn't have to communicate with you outside of that, then why wouldn't he do it? If he could have 10 girls that he's doing that with, he'll get away with it. If he can get away with it, he's going to do it. Super important.
So this guy right here is really talking about like the top 10% Chad and Tyrone's, that, because he's saying that, oh, he's probably talking this and that. Most guys, this guy, most guys don't have the ability to talk to more than one or two women at a time because they don't have that many prospects that are coming towards them, right? But more to the point, let's see what else he talked about. He said, let me see, go back to real quick.
But if all he has to do is set those dates.
Oh yeah. So he says, okay, so if all he has to do is just set up the date for you guys to connect, but he's not trying to talk to you outside of those dates, then that's bare minimum effort. Again, guys on this platform, how many times have you reached out to a girl after the date? Like as soon as the date's over, you hit her up. Hey, I got home safe. Hope you had a good night. The next day, hey, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hey, I want to take you out again tomorrow night, blah, 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 blah. And then it just burns out. So again, I just found that talking to women consistently between dates didn't work in my favor. I did find, though, that saving those conversations for when I could get them on an actual date where they could hear me, where my words wouldn't be misconstrued, where they could, hear the tonality of my voice, and I could get a good laugh from her, and I could touch her and feel her, that those kind of dates and those kind of communications resulted in them feeling affection for me a lot faster, which resulted in me getting hookups. This guy's saying, if all he's doing is setting up dates, and then you're going on dates with them, and then you're also having hookups, well, that's not enough communication. And then a guy's going to see this and say, see, Harry, you're wrong. This guy said that I need to communicate more. You can do that. Go ahead and try to communicate with the girl more so than you are now and see if it keeps her interest. Again, I have found more often than not it doesn't, but hey, maybe I'm an outlier. Maybe I'm crazy for teaching this stuff and you need to go try that out and just try talking. But I've done the thing of texting a girl every day, emailing her every day, FaceTiming her often, and more often than not, I found that made their feelings go away faster. When I was not doing that stuff, I found that feelings would go up higher and that they would be reaching out to me more, which means I never had to worry about rejection because they were chasing me. And dude, as a guy, you are still doing your part. Don't be fooled by this guy. You are still doing your part if you're waiting every 4 days or so to reach out to her to ask her on a date. Because even if a woman is like feeling, I wish you would text me more, the reality is the other part of her brain is going, but wait, so he's not texting me a lot, but also when he does text me, he's asking me out. He's giving me all the attention on these dates. He's listening to me. He's being attentive. He's taking me to really cool places. We're kissing, we're making out, we're hooking up. He's giving me all the affection when I'm with him. So it's only when I'm between dates that I don't hear from him. And that's because I really just want to see him. But like, is he actually doing anything wrong? And I thought most women, they'll come to the conclusion like, oh, in person, he's doing all the stuff. So maybe I'll have a conversation about how much he texts. But overall, I'm still feeling the feels for him. And so that's probably really why I'm so wanting of his attention, because I just really like him so much. That makes them call themselves out on that. So this guy's saying he's not doing enough to do more. Again, in this case, you doing the bare minimum is totally fine. I'll answer that question after I get through all this stuff. Okay, so continuing on with this thing.
And he's getting what he wants and he doesn't have to communicate with you outside of that, then why wouldn't he do it? If he could have 10 girls that he's doing that with, he'll get away with it. If he can get away with it, he's gonna do it. Super important that there is some level of consistent communication outside of those dates or those hookups, right?
Now, he gets half this wrong. He's saying there needs to be consistent communication between these dates. Again, as a guy, I've just found it doesn't typically work. But the consistency thing is key, right? Because as I've said on the show before, whatever you set up early on in the dating process, that's what the woman's going to expect of you, good or bad. If you start off texting a whole lot and then you try to die down, that's going to look suspicious. Even if she doesn't like it, she's going to think he's not being the same as he was before. That's weird. And she'll probably lose interest. Whereas if you do what I say, which is, even if you meet her on a dating app, you do minimal texting to get to know her just a little bit, then you ask her on the date. At that point, your initiating of texting should be confined to when you're asking her on dates. Even if she says in the beginning, like, I wish you would text me, blah, 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 blah. I have found that if you're consistent in your low level of texting, that women will eventually get used to that. And then they'll tell their girlfriends, he's just not a big texter, but trust me, when we go out, he's all about me. And that's what you want. You want to set the expectation that you're not going to be texting a whole lot. I tell women, for example, on date one, hey, just, I'm not really a big texter. Like, obviously we have this date and, if you don't hear from me, it's not that I don't like you. It just means that I have other things going on and that I typically save more conversations for dates. I like being able to talk to you when you're pretty face when you're in front of me, And I'll say that, they'll get a little laugh. And then, you know what happens? I don't get pestered about not texting anymore. Funny how that works, right? So again, I keep my effort very, very minimum because again, they have not earned the right to hear more from me. And women mostly understand that. The ones that don't, I find they typically tend to be women that are also needy and desperate, just like men can be. Women can be that way too. And they end up being a bit harder to date. So don't feel bad about not trying to send a huge amount of text. All the women that I know in my life that are friends of mine, that have either gone on to date a guy or have had really high crushes on guys, were all guys that weren't texting them as much as they thought they wanted. Because it builds attraction. If it worked differently, I would tell you guys, guy, text her all the time. And that because women like communication. If you communicate all the time, you're going to be able to attract her. I just found that's not true. So I don't try to trick you guys into thinking that's what's going to happen.
He's not communicating with you at all. That's a problem, okay? Doesn't have to be blowing you up every day, but there needs to be some steady communication that over time is ramping up. So yeah, you're seeing each other, you're dating, but he's not pursuing you to be in a relationship.
And that's a lie because you asking her on a date every so often is you pursuing. He's thinking pursue, because guys have this messed up idea of like pursuing means you can chase the girl and you need to like bombard her with all the texts, all the calls, all the attention in the beginning. And that is going over the bare minimum, but that amount of effort that you're putting forth is unwarranted. In the beginning, it's fine if you're seeing her and 2 or 3 other people, which means your attention is going to be spread out anyway. Women have a general understanding that that's probably what's happening. But more importantly, they want that to be happening. They like the thought and idea that you are a guy that other women want. She wants to be the one to win you over, but there can be no contest if she's thinking, oh, yeah, I totally have him. He has no other prospects. Like, women don't like the thought of you as a guy having no other prospects, because all they start thinking is, why doesn't he have other prospects? Is something wrong with him? Other girls are not vouching for this guy. That is a problem. So no, you shouldn't be giving maximum effort also, because it makes her think you have nothing else going on, including potentially having other women to date, and that's going to cause her to lose interest. I wish it wasn't that way. I just found that typically tends to be the case. Okay, moving on to this next video. This lady annoyed the crap out of me, but we'll add it to the things. Let's take a look.
Talk about things he does that you think are a big deal and mean a lot, but are actually bare minimum behavior and mean nothing. The last one may shock you. I feel like a lot of women still don't really understand what bare minimum behavior means. And obviously this can vary depending on your standards, depending on how you value yourself. And
okay, so real talk. A woman's bare minimum standard, if you will, is typically going to change depending on a few things. One, it's going to be her age. And number 2, it's going to be her socioeconomic bracket. So, for example, a woman that is in the range of like 18 to 28, those are her prime years when she has the hottest she'll ever be, right? She has all the guys chasing her. She's got the cream of the crop, the pick of the litter. And so she might be one of those girls that's like, well, if a guy's not spending $100 on a dinner, then I'm not going to date him. I have the benefit of being 42 and seeing girls that did that back in the day at the age they're at now in their late 30s, early 40s that are struggling to where their standard now is, I just want a guy that won't lie to me. I just want a guy that's going to just take me out occasionally. It doesn't have to be all that expensive. I just want to, be able to go on a real date with a guy. The problem women have is the standards that they're willing to have in their late 30s are the same standards they should be having for guys in their 20s. But a lot of them miss out because they're like, I'm going to be fine forever. At least they think that at the moment. And so they lose out. And that sucks. And then the other one is socioeconomic. Realistically, guys, a woman that comes from like a background where her family had a lot of money, she was affluent and whatever, she might be the person that's like, my bare minimum standard is a $200 dinner. Now, does that mean you as a guy need to match that? It does not. Because another thing I found is that, and this is true for most dating advice in general, is that at the end of the day, what really matters is how attractive the woman finds you. All her standards, surprisingly, will go out the window when she has a high interest. So you could have a woman in a higher economic class and she sees a bum guy on the street that's got a lot of muscles and looks good with a shirt off and she will go for that guy because wherever her ovaries did a flip in her stomach, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, that's the guy. And that can happen. But just understand that for guys that she's not attracted to, or guys that she is hypothetically thinking about that aren't actually real to her, she's going to bring forth these standards of, I need this kind of dinner and these kind of trips annually and this kind of thing to happen to make sure that I fall for the guy. And most of that, guys, is bullcrap, because the reality is a woman that is trying to set standards for you of things that you need to do while she's waiting to find that guy, there is a guy in her life that is banging her on the regular that is meeting less than the bare minimum standards. And she's like, but he's attractive, he's cute, he does me right in bed, and so I don't care, So always be mindful of that also. These girls in here come like, a guy needs X, Y, and Z. I can assure you, even this girl here, if she found a dude out there that didn't meet her bare minimum, but what was attractive in the way that her ovaries needed him to be attractive, trust and believe this video would be taken down because she'd mean absolutely none of it. But anyway, I digress.
And just the things you prioritize in a relationship. So if you disagree with any of these, let me know in the comments. I'm totally open to conversation, but let's get into it. Let's start off with a simple one. Opening the car door for you is bare minimum behavior and does not really mean anything. It just means that he's literally opening the car door for you to try.
So again, they're defining bare minimum as things that most guys should be expected to do. Spoiler, most guys aren't opening women's car doors. So she's trying to put forth, and if a guy is doing that, then spoiler women, that's not actually like, that's just the bare minimum that you should be expecting anyway. So don't give a guy extra points for doing that. And so when do we get to a point of society where it's like, so you doing stuff back in the day that women would have loved to do, now it's seen as the bare minimum. Therefore, it's acceptable to do, but you're still not doing enough. Like the number of women I talked to, again, in their late 30s, early 40s, who would kill for a guy to open their car door, who would kill for a guy to just talk to them nicely. Like you would be thinking that these are hard things to come by, but the fact that they're not even being appreciated is what's making guys not even want to do that stuff. Anyway.
Try to seem chivalrous and nice, but that does not mean that he is like the most amazing guy you've ever dated. And if you're dating a guy that isn't opening doors for you, what the heck is wrong with you? Let me know.
So, to clarify, if a guy is not opening doors for you, then he's a trash guy. But also, if a guy is opening doors for you, that's just the bare minimum, and that's still not enough. Is it any wonder today why it is that women are losing in the dating game? Because at what point are you going to be happy with the stuff that we're doing? And actually get to that in a later video. But anyway.
If you guys want me to go into a video about how to get him to start doing little things like that, like opening the car door for you and like little things, because I've had some practice with this one.
And now this is key, guys, because I'm glad she said that part, because what did she just say? She said, hey, women, if you want me to teach you how to get a guy to do something that you want him to do, i.e. opening doors, I got the key to that, right? So this is the woman that is telling women, hey, I can give you some sneaky tactics to make a guy do what you want to do. And yet women will come over to the guy side of things, and guys are simply saying, hey, if you do these things and be patient and do whatever, then she'll feel these certain things for you. And now that's manipulation. I just wanted to point out the hypocrisy of that, because the woman right here is telling women, I can teach you how to do these things, but then they get mad at guys for trying to teach guys to do the things that I'm trying to teach you guys to do. Anyway.
The second thing that means absolutely nothing and you're making a big deal about is introducing you to his friends. That means nothing. You have no idea if he introduces every single girl he talks to his friends. You have no idea if his friends are like in on it or know about multiple women that he's dating. That does not mean anything. So
now this is an example of this woman does not know just how big of a deal it is, or should be to you rather, that you are introducing her to your friends. Now I tell you guys on this channel, I make it a point to, if I'm dating a woman, she does not meet my friends or my family until we're either 2 months in / close to being in a relationship, or we're actually starting about talking about titles and being boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, I just generally believe that bringing other parties into your dating situation when you're still getting to know each other can result in either party being swayed or swayed in the wrong direction in terms of their thought about that person. Like the number of, for example, women are haters. Like women are not aware that they have women in their friends groups that are also haters. And so her trying to bring you around her friends, then you have this friend over here that's going to tell her, oh, I saw him do such and such and such and such, and you shouldn't date him anymore. So then she dumps you, only to find out later that that friend actually wanted you and or was jealous that you having a boyfriend meant that it was going to take time away from them hanging out. And so these are the things that happen when your girl tries to bring you around other people, or you try to bring, the girl around your boys, thinking, oh, I just bring around the boys and fellas, this and that, not thinking it's going to be a thing. But like, your boys could be hating on you. Your boys could be trying to get your girl. Your boys could be like trying to tell stuff. I've heard scenarios of like dudes bringing a new girl around their friends, and then the friends just saying all the embarrassing stuff about this guy to where the girl actually lost interest. So, but she's saying, but that's not a big step. Guys, taking a woman around your friends and family should be a huge step to you that you should be waiting for until she starts talking about wanting to be in a relationship. That is actually a big deal. For her to be like, that's just the bare minimum. That really shows, honestly, how bad of a job we as guys have done at making that step be a lot bigger. Because she should not, again, I'm saying this again for you guys, do not be bringing her around your friends, your family. I don't care if it's, hey, this week's 4th of July. You've been dating a girl for a month. Hey, come meet my friends and family. Don't do it. That is a step that is, to a woman, very serious. You're bringing her around family, which means to her, you're thinking about her as potentially being family. But is she there yet in her process of thinking about you that way? Probably not. And you're going to lose out. So don't do what she's talking about. Like, don't take for granted that like her meeting your friends is actually a big freaking deal.
Stop acting like it's a big deal if he introduces you to all of his friends, because that really doesn't mean anything.
It means a lot, guys. Don't fall for that.
And number 3 is he texts you constantly, frequently. That means absolutely nothing, and he may just be using you as a source of entertainment and validation. Let me know if you guys want me.
So this is where I talk about projection. The reason she said that last part, well, he's probably just like texting you just to get validation. That's because that's what they do. You're texting her to try to get dates, and you shouldn't be doing this, but a lot of you guys are trying to text women to build rapport so she can get to know you, whatever like that. But women are the ones that'll typically, more often than not, be texting a bunch of different dudes just because it validates how pretty she feels and how much she thinks about herself, right? So again, guys, you guys texting and trying to call, she's saying, well, texting a lot and this and that, that's just the bare minimum, this and that. Guys, if it was the bare minimum, then she would be happy that you're over texting. But instead, they typically get bothered by it to where they stop texting you back and they go ghost on you. All right. So, but that's why also you shouldn't be texting all that much in the first place. So again, this woman just giving out a whole bunch of stuff that is absolutely wrong. It is what it is. We get to the questions at the end of this segment, guys, and we got a lot more to cover. But anyway, continuing on, there's another video here.
I need you to stop accepting bare minimum behavior from these men. Too many women are like, well, he texts me good morning at least 2-3 times a day. He texts me in the evening or the afternoon, and he always checks in with me via text, as if that's something that takes effort, as if that's.
So again, but this is, I will say, even though these videos are really, really annoying, it is interesting to get the perspective from women about what they think and feel is going on with us when we're texting, right? Because she's saying a text, that's not a lot of effort. Now, I as a guy know that on my end of things, if you're a guy that just met a woman and you're taking her out, you're sitting there agonizing about what thing can I send her next that's not going to make me look needy and look desperate and is going to help me help her build me up in her head to see me in a positive light. What's going to do the thing that's going to make her laugh, me funny. And I don't know about you guys, back in the day, even before texting was a thing, I would go online and try to look up like 4 or 5 different things that I could talk about with a girl on a date, and then have it in my pocket, like a piece of paper in my pocket with the subjects on the paper so I'd know what to talk about. Now, the women I was dating were probably thinking, he's just bringing up whatever subject. No, I did research on those subjects. So for this woman to be like, that's not any effort at all. This shows you the disconnect, that women don't know exactly what kind of effort is going to the things that you as a guy are doing. But more to this girl's point, right? She's saying, well, just because he's texting you 2 or 3 times a day, just because he's sending you a good morning text, just because X, Y, and Z, that doesn't mean that that's maximum effort. That's just lazy, whatever, this and that. These are the women that are going to grow old and buy a dog and die alone because they're not appreciative of anything you're doing. Like, again, we have women complaining guys don't do enough. But then when they do stuff, well, he did stuff, but that's the bare minimum. I can't accept the guy just texting me. I can't accept the guy just ask me for dates and just taking me out and just seeing me. Like, that's just not enough. But for the dating phase, that's exactly what they deserve. They don't deserve any more than that. They don't deserve concert dates. They don't deserve you overextending yourself for more texts. Because again, as I have found, giving women that, you're thinking they want that, I found that typically turns women off for reasons that we'll get into at a later time. But anyway, continuing on.
Something to shout about when it's really not. He's giving you a little bit and you're accepting a little bit and making it seem like a lot.
Now, here's the thing. I will give her credit to say she does point out that like sometimes women, when they do like you, they will overread things to where there are guys out there legitimately that are actually giving less than the bare minimum, and women are just snatching up their breadcrumbs because like, oh, he showed me a little bit of attention today. So that can and does happen. But hold on, let me get back to what I missed the part. Hold on a second. Go back a second here.
A little bit, and you're accepting a little bit and making it.
Oh, yeah. But in the beginning, a woman should be happy to accept your little bit, because the reality is, again, women, healthy women that have a good head on their shoulders, for them, building attraction for you is going to be like turning a dial. And so they're expecting at the beginning, hey, very little. You're going to text her a couple times. You're going to ask her for a date. You're going to take her out. It ain't got to be overly fancy. I've done pizza dates. I've done coffee dates. I've done P.F. Chang's. I've done picnics. I've done walks on the beach. And those are all fine dates, right? And then they expect, because they want to go on a date, because for them, it's about the feeling you're giving them. And so without all these extra distractions, she can get down to the nitty gritty of what things are you making her feel? Can she trust those feelings? And are the things you're doing consistent from date to date? And it's a lot easier for her to measure your consistency when you're giving her what I call realistic expectations. Like if you take her out on the first date to Ruth Chris, which is like $250, the next date, if it goes from that to like being like Golden Corral, she's going to think that's a little funny. How are you able to do such an expensive date on date one, but now you're down to Golden Corral money? Like, that's a problem. Versus if you start with like a Golden Corral and then you build up to Ruth Chris, it's like, oh, he knows what he's doing because he's slowly dialing up my experience each time. I'm not going from the greatest experience in the world to like low level. I'm starting at a low to mid tier. And then each time it's incrementally going up, and then it goes back down a bit, and then back up again, and then down. So this is now consistent between our dates. And women will trust that consistency more than you trying to do all the things. So yeah, she should be appreciative of the little effort you're doing in the beginning of simply asking her out to learn more about her, because there's proving ground on both ends. She needs to be proving herself to you, just like you're trying to prove yourself to her. And with each subsequent date, it's going to be more acceptable to do things a bit more with a bit more extension based on the level of trust you're starting to build. For women to think she deserves all that on date one, or by date three, you should be giving her all the things, or that you just doing a little bit here and there to try to get to know her is not good enough after 1 month. Those are women that, again, are going to be hard to deal with long term, and they do not deserve your attention.
Seem like a lot. And what you're doing in that process is setting him up to continue giving you bare minimum behavior. And at some point in the relationship, if it grows, or in the situation.
See right there? She's saying at some point in the relationship, if it grows. So again, she still has the mindset that you're doing this behavior in a relationship. Again, you're doing this bare minimum behavior in the dating phase, where this is like the safe ground. This is where all people understand, for the most part, hey, we're dating each other. We're trying to find out about each other, but we don't owe each other this. And so just like I assume you might be seeing other people, I might be seeing other people, that's fine. Therefore, it's fine not to give your all right now, because we're giving our energies to different people to test things out.
Situationship, you are going to realize that you set yourself up for failure, and you set yourself up to continually get the least when you deserve even more than the most, right? Because
so she's saying that, she's talking to women now, you deserve more than the most. And that is true when you are in a relationship with her, when you've established you guys are boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, fiancés, whatever. That is when you are giving the most. But in the beginning, and this is what I think, because I think people, I understand the idea of like texture of language and words. Like people hear terms like bare minimum and giving and all this stuff, and they think like, oh, bare minimum is so disgusting. Oh, I don't want to, that makes me feel like I'm less than. But the reality is, when you're dating somebody, you're just trying to get to know them to see if they're worth you giving your all in. So yeah, when you're dating somebody, you might be only giving like 50 to 60% of what you're fully capable of. And that's fine, because as you're getting to know them, you're going to be able to see if the woman that's in front of you that you're dating is actually worth giving that more to. But the mistake guys make is they're giving all this more on these first dates and these second dates and these third dates, because they've heard women complain about, I just need more. And say, I've done it. I've literally taken women on first dates to Disney on Ice. I took a girl on a first date to a Beyonce concert. And guess what, guys? Spoiler. None of those resulted in me dating these women for more than 2 or 3 dates before she's like, I'm just feeling you like a friend. Oh, so you're saying me giving the maximum benefit on these first dates somehow didn't translate to feelings for me. Isn't that interesting? And yet, women that I've taken on dates that were cheap, like I'm talking like $20 a plate, I'm talking like walks on a beach or doing hikes, those are ones that resulted in me getting into like long-term relationships. So I only go on results. Hey, I wish I could take women out on these highfalutin dates and it'd be like, oh, $200 dinner, you can have my pennies right now. I already want you. That's not how it's worked out for me. Hey, maybe it's different for you guys. Let me know in the comments if it's worked better for you doing overly expensive dates or overextending yourself early on versus later. I found for me, that's not what happened.
Your worthiness and your value is divine and inherent, and it cannot be quantified. So no matter what
So now she's saying to women, you know what your worth and what your value is, it can't be quantified. And therefore, men should just give you all because you're not quantifiable. The dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Is giving you, no matter what you're experiencing, even at what feels like the best, you always deserve more. And so does your partner, if that partner is a healthy partner.
Women with these kind of mindsets stay forever single. Look at somebody like Vivica Fox. She's what, 60 now? She dated 50 Cent back in the day, couldn't make it work with him, still stuck on him. But more importantly, she's at 60 talking about, I'm ready to get married now. You know what? Some guy need to just come along and do the things for me. But also, I have standards and I want to accept the bare minimum. I'm like, she is 60. Objectively, she cannot set standards anymore. Like now, she has to take what she can get because these guys out here that are also 60 can get 30-year-olds. 40-year-olds. I'm a guy in my 40s that can realistically get 20-year-olds, early 30-year-olds. I can also get 40 and 50-year-olds. Like I can run the game. But the point is like, I have the choice now in what I want to get. So she's playing a losing game and she's teaching women to also play a losing game. And this is where women start to lose. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna stop with their video because I need you to see this next one. Right. So, and by the way, at the end of this, I'm going to give you guys a rundown of all the things in these videos that women are saying are now bare minimum stuff. But I want to give you an example in real time of what bare minimum effort looks like to one particular girl. Let's take this out.
This dude bought me these shoes. But I told him I only wanted the shoes if they came with the matching purse.
So you hear that, right? She said she was talking to a guy and he said he was going to buy her shoes. And she said, well, I only want the shoes if you're going to buy the bag to go with it. Why? Because to her, getting a pair of shoes for her is the bare minimum. Oh, but it gets better, people.
All he bought were the shoes. So am I wrong for returning these shoes and just getting my money back?
So all he bought was the shoes. So she's wondering, am I the a-hole for turning this guy down now because he just bought me the shoes? And now,
because I mean, technically it's my money back since they're my shoes, right?
So now she's saying, should I trade in the shoes? Because technically he bought me the shoes. Therefore, you know, it's my thing to return and get the money for, right? Like, so she was really in this whole time for the money. But wait, it gets better, people.
Yeah, I thought I was playing about them shoes. They fucking gone. Just like the...
So I don't know if you can see the bag. The shoes that he bought her were from Dior, which if you don't know is a very expensive brand. Like, they got nothing going for them under $300 easily, right? So those shoes cost a minimum of $300. But wait. So that right there, because I paused it earlier before I watched the stream. So look at that. 1, 2, 3. That is $400 and some change. So she effectively told this guy that I need in order for, if you want to buy me some shoes, I need the shoes and I need the bag. And if you just give me the shoes and not the bag, that is the bare minimum. I am not accepting of you as a potential dating partner. But you know what? I will take the shoes and I will trade them in. And this is, again, an example of when women talk about needing the bare minimum. There are some women out there whose bare minimums are actually pretty darn unreasonable. Like, she couldn't even be happy with this guy just volunteering the shoes. She couldn't just be like, the shoes, first of all, you can go to Payless and get some shoes like that. I don't need these $40 shoes. But you know what? If you want to give me those shoes, I'll be oh so appreciative. No. What happened? He went to her, hey, man, I want to get you some shoes because I just think you're so pretty. Bare minimum over here. I mean, can you at least get the purse to go with it? I mean, I can only afford the shoes. Brokey. You know what? You're not good enough for me, but thanks for the shoes. Ha, ha, ha. And that's why I say, guys, like, in terms of bare minimum stuff, really start looking at, you know, women are going to occasionally clown you for saying, you know, doing what they perceive to be the bare minimum. Oh, you just asked me on dates. Oh, you just paid for a $50 dinner. Oh, you just do X, Y, and Z. You cannot let these women trick you and clown you into thinking that what you're bringing to the table is not good enough. In the early part of dating, and even if this girl was in a relationship, her expecting $400 shoes and a purse, and if not getting it, then like, oh, my boyfriend just gave me the bare minimum. I remember one time years ago, I was dating this woman, and we've been dating for like a few months, right? So we were boyfriend and girlfriend. I took her on a trip to a ski lodge. It was not a ski lodge. It was summertime. So I took her on a trip to to Palm Springs, and I found a really great hotel. I found a restaurant that was at the top of this thing where you had to catch a ski lift to go to the very top of the hill to then get dinner. Now, the dinner, to be fair, it was like buffet style, but like the whole experience of like the ride up to the place and like being able to eat and you like get to like oversee all the mountain stuff. It was really pretty, right? All this stuff. So then we go to a gift shop, and in the gift shop, she came up to me with this back scratcher in her hand, right? And so the back scratcher, it was like $1.39. Like it was nothing, right? And so I looked at it and I thought to myself, okay, yes, that is a nothing item. It's $1.39. But I done paid for the gas to get here. I done paid for the hotel for us to stay in for 2 or 3 days. I've already anticipated paid for the dinner that we just had, as well as the thing we're doing tomorrow morning for breakfast and whatever. I think I spent enough money to where if she wants this gift, she could be able to afford a $1.39 gift. And so I said, you know what, that's great. But, I'm not going to get that, but you go ahead and, if you want to get it, go ahead and get it for yourself. And this woman literally turned around in the store and said, boo. I wish I could say that I stopped dating her at that point, but we went on a date for quite some time. But at the time, I do remember thinking like, this chick is really booing me. Like, I've done all this stuff. I think I talked to her. I said, I've done all this stuff for you this weekend, and you're going to boo me about a $1.39 back scratch. Like, who does that? Like, who's not that appreciative? So long story short, that didn't work out. But if I say, guys, don't let these women convince you that your effort is not great. If you know that you're putting in the best effort you possibly can based on where you're at in life right now, then find a woman that's going to be accepting of that. And also, guys, there are plenty of women out there that will accept that effort and recognize it for what it actually is. Anyway, on to this next video. I forget what it is. Let's just bring it to the stage.
And it's for decades.
Oh, okay. So this is a guy that's about to say some annoying stuff and also contradict himself. Let's get into it.
Taking a woman out is literally the bare minimum.
So now we have guys out there that are also perpetrating, yeah, guy, you taking her out, that's not enough.
Buying her flowers is literally the bare minimum.
This guy's simping.
Getting her gifts is literally the bare minimum.
So taking her out, texting, giving her gifts, all that is he's basically saying that's not enough effort, guys. You shouldn't do that. Again, how many women out there are begging, pleading for their boyfriend at home to just take them out, begging for him to just get her a little trinket just to show that he cares? Like, there are women in full-on relationships that are like, I would just care for that. And this guy's saying, but ladies, if you're dating a guy like this, that's not enough. And guys, you didn't know that's not enough. When has that ever not been enough?
One thing that women have been doing that a lot of you guys don't realize is that they have been taking themselves out on dates. They've been buying themselves flowers and getting themselves the gifts and those shoes that they've always wanted and a car that they've been looking at for a while. They've already been doing that for themselves. There is nothing more that you can offer a woman than to be a man.
Okay, so let's talk about that, right? So this guy then just said, hey, guy, so I got news for you. You taking a woman out on a date and buying her flowers and calling her and getting her gifts, you know what? That's the bare minimum now, because women can do that for themselves. And so you doing that, she's not going to appreciate that. What she wants to appreciate, though, is you being a real man. But being a real man used to mean taking her out on dates. It used to mean getting her flowers, complimenting her, getting her gifts, showing that you're being protective of her, showing that you could provide for her, which would be taking her on a date and paying for the meal. So this guy in one breath is saying, guys, all the stuff you used to do as men, don't do those things, but also still be a man. Is it any wonder that men are confused by the message of what is and is not acceptable? What is it as men that we are supposed to do today that women are going to be happy about? Now, here's the trick, guy, though. Here's the trick, guy, is that women that appreciate men and like legitimately care for men will still be accepting of all the things he just mentioned as you being a man. You planning a date, you taking her out, you showing her a good time, you making her laugh, you making the moves to do things in the bedroom. Those things will still be seen by real women as you putting forth efforts as a man. What this guy's talking about, he has been brainwashed and tricked into thinking, well, because women can do that for themselves, they don't need men for that. The number of women I know that can do that for themselves, that are like, but I wish I had a man here to do those things. I have women friends I know that have taken themselves on trips across the world that are like, but I still wish a man could have done that. So even just because women can do that doesn't mean that they're not still looking through the lens of, but a man should be here to do those things for me. Now, I'm not here saying you as a guy need to be doing that, because I'm still like, I date women who, when I go on these big trips, they're paying their half, I'm paying my half. So, but the reality is that even women that can do that for themselves still want a man to do those things with, and will be happy as punch if a man gave the bare minimum to pay for those things. So this guy is completely out of whack. But anyway.
That is one thing that y'all men of this generation lack. Y'all lack the capabilities of being a leader.
But to his point, if women or men today aren't women in leadership positions at their job, And so that leadership at the job, by the way, does not translate to that's going to work in a relationship. But that's the point, is that, you know, if we're saying women can do all these things, including they can pay for their own meals, they can buy their own flowers, get their own gifts, take them on their own trips, then they can also lead themselves. And that's where men get tripped up, because they're like, well, if women are acting like men today, then I, as a guy, shouldn't, you know, make her feel like less than by trying to tell her what to do. So I'm not going to lead. I'm going to leave the decisions up to her. And then women come back and say, you're just giving the bare minimum. Why do I have to do all the things? And it's like, because when I was trying to do the bare minimum, you were saying that wasn't enough. You were saying that wasn't me being a guy. But then what am I supposed to do as a guy when you can do all that stuff? Confusing, right?
Being a provider and being a man.
Again, he just said women can provide for themselves. And then in the different breath, he's saying, oh, but you need to provide for them. Which one is it? And then the things that he mentioned earlier that were typically ways that guys showed their guys, are those going to be accepted, or are they going to be seen as bare minimum and therefore not adding points to the scoreboard?
But yet y'all expect women to be submissive to you, but you don't have anything to be submissive to. Make it make sense.
Well, what's happening is that women are doing things that men used to do, and then not wanting to submit to guys that do those same things. Women are putting themselves on equal planes with guys. So yeah, oh, a guy can take me up and I can take myself out. Oh, a guy's gonna buy me drinks, I can buy my own drinks. So this doesn't allow her to give polarity to the situation, whereby before it'd be like, oh, a guy does these things and a girl does these things. Now with our world trying to be like, we're all non-binary, we can all do whatever, it makes it confusing, because women that want masculine men are also trying to act like masculine men, and they're not giving points to those men for doing things they can do for themselves. And therefore, a guy's like, what room do I have here? And I'm out.
If you actually want a woman to not be in her masculine era and be that soft, feminine girl, you have to take her out of that. You got to bring her peace, or else you're not going to get anything out of her. It's going to go nowhere. Because I'm going to tell you that if you think that a woman is going to give her all without anything in return, you're mistaken. And that's just how it is. But y'all stay.
Now that's not the problem, because he's saying basically like, if you're not giving, then she's not going to give in return. The problem is guys these days are giving, and women are saying what you're giving is the bare minimum, and that's not acceptable, and therefore I'm out. But at no point in here does he say, well, then what things should a guy be giving? And the small things he's saying guys should be giving are things that he said earlier are things that guys that are just the bare minimum and that women aren't accepting anymore. So he contradicted himself throughout this entire thing, which is what makes guys even more confused. So again, you can't listen to guys like this that are saying the bare minimum is whack, because again, to the right woman, your bare minimum is going to be seen like the world. And you want women that are going to appreciate your bare minimum, because they're the ones that are going to be truly deserving of you giving more effort in the future. 2 more videos, guys, then we'll get into some more stuff. Here we go.
I mean, there's guys out there that will do whatever it takes to get you, like to court you. And there's guys who really don't want you, but, you know, they like the hooking up part. They like things like that. So they'll do the bare minimum to keep you around. And some girls, I don't know why, get attracted to that. Like, get attracted to guys who do the bare minimum.
He just gave away the game there. He just said there are girls out there that are falling for guys that give the bare minimum, and he can't figure it out. And I'm going to go into that a little bit deeper later on. But here's the thing, guy, is that I know it's going to surprise you, that the reason women like guys that give the bare minimum is because it makes them feel less pressured to have to give more than they're ready to give. Guys think if I just give all in the beginning, then she's going to know that I like her, and then she's going to be able to match me. Well, a woman sees that early on and thinks he's already trying to pressure me into a relationship. Guys that are giving the bare minimum aren't applying pressure to the woman for this to have to be a thing. He's basically saying, hey, let's hang out and see what's what. That is low-level stakes, which means now a woman's not trying to bet the house on this date has to work out, or if this works out, I have to be his girlfriend. Like, no, it's a simple inquiry into getting to know each other. And believe it or not, guys, women actually like less pressure in the beginning to feel like they have to choose you. But you know what's going to make them feel like they have to choose you is when you're doing all the things this guy said early on, which let's go back again. Let's go see that again.
That will do whatever it takes.
There. And we fall for this because of movies and music. Oh, I'll do whatever it takes because I need you so much. You're the world's me, and I'm going to do all these things. That comes across as a guy that doesn't get any from anybody, which means, what does it mean to a woman? He's chased me really, really hard. It must mean no other women want him. Why don't they want him? I'm now suspicious of that. And also this feels like a lot, and I'm out. Versus the guys that are doing the bare minimum, they've learned. When I give the bare minimum effort, this is saying to her, you know what? I think you're great, and I want to get to know you, but I'm not going to just give you all my cards yet. Like, I don't know you. You're a stranger right now. Like, you're a cool, good-looking stranger, but I don't know about your family life. I don't know about your traumas. I don't know about your history. I don't know if you got other dudes in the background that you're still banging. Like, I need time to feel this out. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of effort right now. And then as you prove yourself to me, I'll give you a bit more. And most women are like, you know what? Subconsciously, you know what? That's reasonable. You know what? I want to actually now earn his trust. And women like that. Like, women will tell you otherwise, but women I found like to have to prove themselves to you versus you give it all to them. Again, like I said earlier, I've done the thing of giving the most in the beginning. Rarely has it ever worked out. So you have to know that it's okay to give bare minimum. And then as you see that she's proving herself, you can give a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And women will typically be cool with that. Again, if they got the good head on their shoulders, right? So we're on this last video because this is really going to solidify for you guys what things today are being considered as the bare minimum. All right, let's get into it.
About the bare minimum, and then I'm going to tell you what you should really be expecting. Bare minimum from a man is the bare minimum from any relationship. Kindness, thoughtfulness, attention, affection, respectfulness, listening to you, not talking over you, doing what they say they're going to do, honesty, transparency, faithfulness, reciprocation, positive energy, sincerity, and an equal effort toward the things that you both have decided are important to you.
Okay, so that's a laundry list. And I'll review that in a minute. But suffice to say, so this one's basically saying all the things that guys are trying to do to get to know women, you know what? That's just the bare minimum. That's just not enough. Like, you doing all the things she mentioned, you know what? That's just not going to do it. But here's the thing. Most women don't come across guys that do even a fraction of what she said. So again, I talk to women in their late 30s and 40s. I just wish a guy would just listen to me and just not judge me and blah, blah. Like, their list is very, very low. But it could have been low this whole time, except they were in their heydays thinking, oh, I'm the ish. And so therefore, I'm going to ask for the world of guys. And I've seen shows of like I've seen the Steve Harvey show where like girls will come in there and have like a whole like 2 screens worth of list of like, I need X, 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 X. And they're thinking those are reasonable ask, right? But like, dudes that can't even talk to them right or can't even treat them well, like most women can't even get that. And yet this woman's saying, but that's just, even if you do get that, guess what, ladies? That's just the bare minimum. That's not enough. So then what does she feel that a guy should give? Let's listen.
Now, let's talk about what you should actually be expecting. That's just the bare minimum. What you should actually be expecting is not just this laundry list of bare minimum things. What I want you to start expecting is how you feel in a relationship.
Here we go. So now she's basically telling women, you need to judge these guys, not on their bare minimums, but what you're feeling. Because again, to be fair, women are about emotions and about feelings, but a lot of the stuff they're going to get a read on for you is going to be based on how well you're doing things in the bare minimum list.
Get past the list and start thinking about how you actually feel in your life being in this relationship. You feel inspired. You feel like a better person, like you can conquer the world, understood.
So she's saying it's your job as the guy to make her feel these things in order for her to recognize you're doing more than just the bare minimum. All right. So let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say she's absolutely right. How soon is that supposed to happen? Like, at what point in the dating process are you as a guy supposed to make her feel inspired and feel like you're the most different guy ever? The reality is that's not going to come in after 1 or 2 dates or 3 dates or 4 dates. Women on average take 2 to 3 months to solidify their feelings. And that's the time frame that they're going to need to start seeing how you're different from the other 2 or 3 other guys she's potentially dating. What this woman is saying is, again, and I say this because, you know, it's not that what she's saying is the worst thing in the world. It's just, again, because women don't give timelines for this thing, you as a guy are going to hear this and think, okay, so I need to make a woman feel all these things from date 1. But women are not expecting on date 1, subconsciously at least, for you to do all these things, because you as a guy are going to hear this and think, okay, I got to go on a date and I got to start talking about how pretty she is and how she could do anything and she's the best girl in the world. And that's going to come off across as disingenuous to her. It's going to make her feel as though you're saying it, particularly to try to get her in bed, which is going to make her trust you a lot less. And then she's going to head for the hills.
Like you can share your most vulnerable thoughts and feelings and they will never leave that person's mouth again. Do you feel like you can say anything to them and share anything with them in confidence and they will never use it against you?
And again, even something like that takes really like 3 or 4 months of good dating and then probably like 2 months of being in a relationship before they'll start really telling you stuff. Like I've had women I dated who took a couple of years where they told me like some really dark secret that's important to them to get out that they didn't know how I was going to take it for like 1.5 years to 2 years. And you know what? I do not fault them for that because I don't expect them to tell me that. Now, imagine if I was on like date 1. So, tell me about your deepest, darkest secrets and tell me about all your traumas because, hey, I don't want you to give me the bare minimum. You need to trust me right now and tell me. Like, that would be a ridiculous request. So for her to be like, you need to be able to know you can talk to her, something like that's totally fine in a relationship. But women are expecting this of men early on, and that's not fair to you guys. So I don't want you to think that you need to be like giving up all your secrets or thinking that it's fine if for 2 months for her to come to you with all. You could be like, hey, you know what? It's only 2 months in, like, don't tell me no deep stuff yet. Wait till we get in it a little bit more. Like that's a fine boundary to set.
Do you feel like every day with them is a gift? And that might sound a little silly because you're not always going to agree. Sometimes you might even really disagree with each other. But if you really had to think about it, is your life better off with them than it would be without them? Do you ultimately feel incredibly blessed to have them in your life?
Okay, another counterpoint, right? Again, we're going to go with like what she's saying is absolutely true. You need to be the guy that she feels blessed and incredible to have in her life. Here's the question. How does she get that feeling from you? Does she get that feeling by you being honest, by you being faithful, by you listening to her, by you being attentive to her? Oh, but wait, that's the bare minimum. So if you're doing those things, it's actually bad because it's not enough. But in order for her to feel as though you're the best guy she's ever dated, you have to also do those things. It's quite the conundrum. So with all that said, guys, what is it? What are the things that these people throughout all these videos have said are now the bare minimum? I'm going to just give you the list of things, the 21 things that they said are the bare minimum. So you as the guy these days are doing the bare minimum when you ask her on a date, when you send her regular text messages, when you're getting her flowers, you're complimenting her, when you're buying her an outfit, because I've had girls ask me to buy them outfits on dates before. I'm not that guy. When you're paying for her meal, this is all bare minimum stuff, guys, bare minimum. You're getting her gifts. You're being kind to her. You're being thoughtful. You're giving her attention. You're being respectful. You're listening to her and you're not talking over her. You're doing what you say you're going to do. You're being honest. You're being transparent. You're being faithful. You're reciprocating to her. You're giving positive energy. You're being sincere. And you're giving equal effort towards the things you've decided are both important to you. All those things are now considered bare minimum. If you're a guy that's doing all those things, I can assure you, any woman would be crawling up your leg to have you, because the reality is most guys aren't doing what's considered today to be the bare minimum. And so that's why I'm all for it. If this is the list of things that people are saying is the bare minimum, guys, you need to be doing the bare minimum, because all this stuff is stuff that women are actually clamoring for. There are things that most guys aren't able to do. And more importantly, they are things that you do in the beginning of just the dating phase of things that give her the respect that she deserves. But at the same time, you're not giving so much that it makes her feel as though you're doing the most, and it's going to pressure her away. Now, to end this segment, I'm going to give you guys 8 reasons why it is perfectly fine to give women the bare minimum during the dating phase. Again, this is the dating phase. In the relationship phase, obviously, guys, you're going to give more when it pertains to the relationship itself. But don't be tricked into thinking that you giving the bare minimum during the dating phase is incorrect. And there's a variety of reasons for that. So the first reason it is okay to give the bare minimum during the dating phase is that if she is not accepting of the bare minimum, she's going to be high maintenance. I have yet to date a woman that was trying to get me to give more than the bare minimum that didn't end up being a hassle or overly expensive or trying to get me to buy her extra things. In effect, she was a gold digger. Now, I'm not against women dating guys for the purposes of, understanding that resources are important and that he needs to partake in some of that. Like, I get it. Women, protection, providing, all that stuff. But a woman that's trying to make you go out of your way to do more, that is not a woman that is going to be okay in the long run. So you actually want to do the bare minimum to suss these kind of women out, because they will drain your wallet, your energy, and they will make you frustrated. So do the bare minimum and get these women out of your life. The second reason it is okay to give the bare minimum during the dating phase is that I have found personally that giving more than the bare minimum in the beginning of the dating process tends to freak women out. I have women friends that come to me and tell me about the guys that they're dating, right? And they'll do these great things. Oh, this guy took me to this concert. This guy took me to this restaurant that was really expensive, blah, 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 blah. I'll ask a couple months later, that guy is no longer in the picture. And what women don't tend to understand is that they may be asking for a guy to give the most, but most women, they find that when they actually go through the experience of that, it freaks them out. Many of them, for example, that say like, oh, I want to date a high value guy, right? They'll date a high value guy that's taking them on like expensive restaurant trips and trips across the country. And then they realize, oh crap, like, this feels like he's bribing me, because now if he's doing all these things, I now got to hook up with him. And also, I don't know if I can keep up. Like, the girl's sitting there thinking like, he's doing this stuff. How do I reciprocate? I don't know what to do. Oh my God. And so women might be thinking that they want a guy to give more than the bare minimum. But the reality is most of them don't actually know how to handle when they get a guy that's doing more than the bare minimum. Just real talk, guys. The third reason why it is okay to give the bare minimum during dating is that, again, she needs to feel as though she has to earn some of those higher privileges. You might be a guy that can afford to take a woman on a date across the country. That's fantastic. But by date 3, she shouldn't be getting offered that at all. That is a thing that you reserve to give to her at the point that she agrees you guys are in a relationship. Until then, I've said to women, I remember I started dating a girl one time and I was like, it was like our second date. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be going to Palm Springs this weekend to like go to, back when MTV did like their MTV beach house parties days. I went to one of those. I didn't invite her to go. I was like, I'm going. I paid. We're not a boyfriend. I didn't say this to her. I'm thinking in my head, we're not boyfriend or girlfriend, and I don't owe you that trip. And you know what? She was fine with it, and we ended up dating for a while. Like, so don't think that women aren't thinking on some level that this is a contest for them. The job is to, look, here's the thing. Women want to be in the market to convince you why they deserve more privileges. It makes it dating fun for them. They want to see that the efforts they're putting forth are resulting in them turning you on to them more and more. Like, they want to think that the work that they're putting out, that they're doing things to receive more of your attention and more of your resources and more of your effort. So let them do that. Let them go through the hoops of having to convince you why it is that you need to spend more time and effort on them, okay? They actually enjoy that. But on top, more importantly, if they have to work for that, then at the point that they feel like they're in a relationship with you, they feel like it is now justified. They have done the things that they needed to do to earn your ability to say, yes, I want a relationship. And at the point that they've earned it, because they feel as though they've earned it, they don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. Versus you give it to them on a silver platter, you're overextending yourself, you're doing all the things. She earned none of that. So she doesn't value it. So it's nothing for her to just be like, I'm going to give that up. I don't want to see him today. Do. Like, versus if she had to earn it, she's like, oh, I'm going to keep doing all the things because I don't want to chase him away now that I've earned him. Let her go through that journey. The fourth reason it is okay to give the bare minimum during dating is because actually you need to learn the level at which she is comfortable reciprocating. You are meeting a stranger. You do not know her enough to owe her anything. And you both need time to figure out what your likes and dislikes are, in what ways, what does she view as reciprocity? Hey, some women are like, well, if I do a thing, then you want you to take me on a fancy dinner date to like an expensive restaurant. That is some women. Other women are like, look, if you just say some kind words to me, I'll say some kind words back. I'll cook you your favorite meal if you like, occasionally take me out once or twice a week. Like, so you need to figure out on some level what she considers to be reasonable. If you give the bare minimum and she complains a lot about that, you'll know, okay, this isn't the girl for me because she's clearly not accepting of like, she can't do a simple, I thought it was going to be a romantic picnic in the park. She's complaining. This is probably not the girl for me. And you can get out a lot faster. The fifth reason it is okay to give the bare minimum is because you will find out that some people have ridiculous ideas of what is and is not considered the bare minimum. We go back to the video I showed you earlier with the girl that was like, well, he wants to buy me shoes, but if he doesn't buy me shoes and a purse, then he's not my guy. If you're giving the bare minimum in the beginning, it's going to be very easy to figure out the kind of women that have ridiculous ideas of what bare minimum is. If her idea of doing the bare minimum is you ask her out on a nice date and go for a walk and share an ice cream, and she's like, oh, that's just the bare minimum. Or you're talking to a woman respectfully on a date, that's the bare minimum. Guess what? You did yourself a favor by not spending too much money and time on this girl because you did the bare minimum and were able to realize she is not going to be a long-term candidate. Bravo to you. The sixth reason, well, I'll go into this. The sixth reason why it's okay to get the bare minimum is because the bare minimum is going to be interpreted differently depending on who you date. Like I said earlier, women that are a bit younger are going to have sometimes more ridiculous ideas about what the bare minimum is versus the woman that is a bit older. And so when you start out with the bare minimum, it's going to allow you to see what these women are considering that to be, and then you can decide if that gels with you. And hey, some of you guys watching this might be rich dudes that like your bare minimum is the $200 dinner, and that is totally fine. I'm not knocking that, but I'm saying that you need to set the tone for this. And so you need to be putting out there what your bare minimum effort is as a starting point, because whatever you start at, that's going to be the lowest expectation she has. If you start up here, she's going to think you're going to always be up here. So if you even dip a little bit, she's going to be disappointed. So don't set yourself up for that. The seventh reason why it's okay to give the bare minimum is because here's the reality, guys. Most women aren't used to getting even the bare minimum. And so when you try to give more than the bare minimum, what's going to happen is it's going to feel like too much for her. Like I said throughout this whole cast, right? That women out there are just begging, I wish a guy would just take me on a date. I wish a guy would just speak to me respectfully. I wish a guy would just, text me, but not so much, but like text me from time to time, right? So even though women say that they want more than the bare minimum, most of them don't know what to do with it when they get it. And so here's the thing, because most women aren't used to getting even the bare minimum, you trying to jump over that to give the maximum is going to feel like an overload of things, and it's going to cause her to have thoughts that she didn't anticipate. Thoughts like, is this guy trying to use me for a hookup? Why is he doing so much? I remember one time I went on a date with a girl, and then like the next day she had to go to the airport, and I volunteered to take her to the airport. So I did. She had to go out of town for Mardi Gras. So she texted me like a day before she came back, and I said, hey, if you need somebody to pick you up from the airport, let me know. And her response was, okay, so like, what are you doing? Like, okay, well, you're acting kind of weird. Like, why are you trying to volunteer? Like, what's this about? This feels kind of funny. And they made me realize, like, oh, wait, like, she's probably used to guys treating her like crap. So it's not that I'm going to treat her like crap now, but all the niceties that I am willing to bring forth to the table, I have to be aware that she's probably not used to even getting a fraction of that niceness. So I got to start off in this nice train slow. Like, don't be volunteering all this time. Don't be trying to send her all these good morning text notes and stuff. Like, really take it down to a base level, like sporadically do things here and there. Take it back down to like asking out once a week. And so I found that that's what I did. I scaled it back, and I would only initiate texts to ask her out. And so we dated for like 5 or 6 months because she was like in her mid-20s and I was in my 30s, and she just graduated from school. So from her main college. So she was going to be going to grad school, at which point we broke up because she moved to a different state and I don't do long distance. But in that 5 months, by the time we finished, before she left, she was like, man, thank you so much. Like, I really got to learn from you, like what it means to actually date and be taken care of as a woman and be treated really nice and respectfully. But she had no experience of that prior. So for her to go from, I'm getting experience of dating all these dudes that are treating me horribly to like, I'm now going to come in and be the nice guy. Just like I said, women are a dial knob. You can't just throw all that. You can't have a woman that went from like, I'm being treated like crap, just being like, oh, I'm going to be treated nice. That is too much of a light switch. That's how guys think, right? You have to dole that out slowly, because again, if she's not used to even getting the bare minimum, then to her, doing the bare minimum is going to be the whole world. So you trying to give the whole world to her is going to feel like manipulation tactics, right? But if you start at bare minimum all the time, then you'll be able to get a better read of where a woman actually is as it pertains to what she considers bare minimum. But more importantly, you won't be overly doing it to where she gets freaked out by that, Just real talk. And then the eighth reason why it is okay for you as a guy to give the bare minimum when dating is that ultimately the bare minimum, just real talk, guys, this is going to be what you're going to actually give her more often than not when you're in a relationship with her on a day-to-day basis. Like on average, if you're in a relationship with a girl, right? You're not doing these trips to Bali every day. You're not doing these overly expensive restaurants. You're sitting on the couch watching TV, or she's cooking a meal while you're at your computer working on stuff. Or if she plays video games, you're playing video games together. Or you're going on walks with each other in a neighborhood, Like you're not going to be doing the most every day. So she needs to be appreciative of your bare minimum because that's what your average is going to be. And then occasionally you'll sprinkle in a few things here or there that show her that you still think of her as above average, but on average, it's going to be average. Again, women that have a level head on their shoulders understand that and are like, look, I just want to know at a base level, is he going to ask me on dates, send regular texts, occasionally get me flowers, compliment me from time to time, doesn't buy me an outfit, but like buy me an ice cream cone every so often? Is he going to take me on dates and pay for the meal? Is he going to he ain't got to pay my bills right now, but can he take care of half the bills? Is he cool to give me some gifts from time to time? Is he kind? Is he thoughtful? Does he pay me attention? Does he show respect? Is he willing to listen to me and not overtalk me? Will he do the things he says he's going to do? Is he honest? Is he transparent? Is he faithful? Is he going to be reciprocating of my efforts? Will he show positive energy? Is he sincere in the way he moves about the world? And is he showing equal effort towards the things we're deciding on? All the things that I listed right there that are bare minimum, most women are going to be happy as punch to be in a relationship with a guy that's doing that stuff. And then occasionally you throw in a trip here and there, you throw in a few I love yous here and there, and they'll be perfectly happy. But that's sane women. And here's the thing, guy. The stuff that I teach you guys in particular, the goal is that the stuff I teach you will work on sane women. Women that are gold diggers, women that are all about me, and I need more than a bare minimum. That's the kind of women that are going to be chased away by the stuff I'm talking to you about. So it behooves you to do these things to keep the right women in your life. And by the way, to the women watching this, I get it. The words bare minimum do not sound pretty, but understand that men are doing their best. And it takes most men a long time to get to learn and do the skills that I just talked about. So if you have a guy that's willing to be respectful and ask you on dates, and you're thinking in the beginning, that's just the bare minimum. You know what? In the beginning, that's what you deserve. And I know for a fact, most guys aren't even giving you that. So accept that bare minimum. Now, I also understand that women, sometimes they say things, but they're not really able to describe what they actually mean. So women basically mean like they don't want to get into a situation where they're dating a guy that then takes them for granted or starts putting forth less effort. So I will say this and pertains to that, right? Is that guys, yes, in the dating phase, you're going to be giving the bare minimum. You're going to incrementally build up a little bit here and there. And then you're going to have a thing where you're giving bare effort. And then you're mixing that in with giving maximum effort, right? But understand that at the end of the day, the person that you're dating, they should be the most important person to you. As such, what I don't want to see you guys doing is falling back on effort. You start at bare minimum, you build up a bit. You don't want to go back to where you're only doing bare minimum or lower than that. Because at that point, then the women do have a point of, yes, it'd be nice if once they're in a relationship with you, you're showing efforts that they're still worth it. When I'm in relationships, I am still doing all the things. I'm still asking on dates. I'm still giving, special days to them and being there for them, all this other stuff. You want to continue to do those things, right? But for women, as a man's continuing to do those things, please, please, please do not tell them you're just doing bare effort and bare minimum, because that will make a man not want to do even that for you. So hopefully, guys, you learned a lot from what we just talked about. Oh my God, that was a lot. That was a lot of show. And there's more to come because I got a lot of comments that I got to respond to. So I'm going to reset and get myself some water real quick while you guys, let's see what I want to show you guys. You guys learn more about the Academy. Check it out. Hey guys, yep, it's still me here. So if you have been trying to figure out the ins and outs of how to date, it can be very, very challenging, especially if you don't have the proper roadmap to be able to get there. Going from dating to getting into a relationship has its own set of problems and issues that if you're not aware of them, you can ultimately end up not being successful. And that's why I've created the Introvert Dating Success Academy. This is an academy that is designed to help you figure out the ins and outs of how to meet, greet, attract, date, land, and keep the woman of your dreams. You could have a girlfriend within the span of 3 months of meeting somebody if you knew the practical steps to take at each stage, from when you first meet the woman, how to talk to her, all the way up to how to ask her out on a date, the kind of date to take her on, how to get to that first kiss, or something more complex as to how to get in the bedroom, what to do when you're in the bedroom, and even concerning things like when you guys have your first argument, how do you deal with that? What signs can you look for that indicate how she feels about you without you having to ask her? And how can you tell when it's time for you to have the relationship conversation? Well, these are all things that are covered in the Introvert Dating Success Academy. It is a video course. It is 12 videos that are designed to walk you through that entire process, A through Z, step by step, so you can finally land the woman of your dreams. And with that, there are some pretty cool bonuses that come with that as well. Now, if you want to check that out and see what the whole program is about, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and you can click on the programs tab and then click on the section that says Introvert Dating Success Academy and see everything that comes with it. But I promise you guys, this program is based on my personal success and the steps that I've used time and time again to be able to attract women, get with any kind of woman that I want to, and if I decide to, get into relationships. And I believe it can be very helpful for you as well. So go to the website, take a look at it, and I'll be happy to assist you and help you when you join the Introvert Dating Success Academy today. That's an old commercial. So that everything in that commercial is a lie, because you actually get a lot more now. So like it's a month-to-month program. You pay month-to-month, but you get, in addition to access to the full-on academy, which teaches you the ins and outs of how to meet, greet, attract, land, and keep, you also get access to the Smart Digital Dating program, which is my course on how to do online dating the right way. You get a 7-part audio series on how to better communicate with women, talking about the ins and outs of how they communicate. You also get like a slew of great podcasts. My original podcast, Stop Losing Women, it's like 435 episodes. You get all those to listen to, as well as one-on-one. You get weekly meetings with me. And we sign up basically to, like, you and a group of other guys can come to ask me any kind of questions you want, much like this, but it's like in a deeper capacity when you join the website. So you can go to the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the tab, join the thing, and then you'll get to experience that. $47 a month, cancel anytime. All right. So now let's go through all the questions that I got during the course of this podcast. By the way, I just made myself some watermelon and grape juice from actual fruit. So I had to rush to make that in the kitchen, but it's so refreshing and delightful. All right. Questions in the chat. So got a question from a guy, and he says, as you date in your 40s, does it remain fun, or do you start to think to settle down and be in a stable, consistent relationship? Also, should you date with a goal in mind long-term, or just go with the flow as you get older? Well, I don't really talk too much about my dating situation on here. So I could be with somebody right now. I could not. I like to keep it ambivalent because I want you guys to really focus more on the stuff that you're going through. So I will say this. I will say, as you're getting older dating, what typically will start to happen is you will have way more options open to you. If you know what you're doing, regardless of how old the woman is, whether she's in her 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, if a woman can see that you're a guy that seemingly knows how to handle women, how to talk around them, how to lead them, then the world is your oyster. And also, as you get older, you'll find that women on a stereotypical level just assume that you're more established and that you have things figured out. Like in your 20s, it's really hard to show that when you really don't have a lot of experience. You're still trying to get your footing in the world. You're still trying to get a job that pays decently. You're trying to get a car, an apartment, and move out of your mom's house. And so you walk around with the energy of what your situation is. If you're a guy that's struggling to make money and you're at home with your parents, for example, then how you're carrying yourself in the world is basically saying, I don't actually deserve what I want yet in terms of a woman because I don't have stuff put together. Now, as you get older and you've solved those things, you walk around with a different air, which is like, I can handle myself and life is great. And women really respond to that across all ages. So as you get older, ideally, you're able to date a lot more women. You have options for more choices, which makes it a lot easier in terms of trying to figure out what you want long-term. Now, in terms of should you date with a goal in mind for long-term or just go with the flow, this is the trick that most men don't understand, is that, and I used to do this too, a man will think, okay, I need to be dating with the purpose of getting into a relationship and having it go towards long-term. And then they bring all that energy into those first few dates. Like, I'm going to make sure this has to work and unequivocally, blah, blah, blah. And women are on those first few dates just to feel things out, just to see if you're a good time, to see if you guys have things in common, what you're going to, how you're going to make her feel about things. And so for women, because they're the receivers of us, it's a lot more of a fluid process for them, where it's just like they're able to be a bit more carefree. They're just there to have a good time and see what you're about. And men take it so seriously because we're goal-oriented, which is a positive, but it's a negative in a sense of when we're dating, we're like, the woman in front of us has to work. I'm going to make sure that it works. We're going to start talking about serious things like feelings and what we're going to do with our futures. And I've talked to so many women friends that have been like, yeah, the guy on the first date was already talking about like he could see us getting married and this is net. Again, these women are no longer dating these guys. So as a guy, regardless of what age you're at, your goal should be this. Because in the beginning, you don't know the girl really. So you can't really say off date one, yep, she's the one. So you go into every date saying, my only goal is to show her the best time I possibly can and to learn some things about her and see what's what. I always took dating on a day-by-day basis, meaning my goal right now is to focus on getting through this first date. If this first date goes well, my second goal is to ask her on the next date and hopefully get a yes. If I get that yes, then the next goal is to get through that second date as best I can. And I just find focusing on date to date. Now I know the end game is because I go into dating knowing it's going to take her 3 months. So that's a date a week for 10 weeks. That's 2.5 months. By that point, if I'm doing that schedule, then by the 2.5 month, she's going to start asking those questions like, what are we? My friends are wondering what we're doing with each other. Are you dating anybody else, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I know that going in. So my plan's always been a 3-month plan, but that allows me to not rush anything. So in terms of going with the flow, I know the flow is I'm asking her on a date once a week. If she asks me for other dates outside of that, that's even better. But I got to get to a minimum of 10 dates. So during that time, I'm just making sure that each date is progressing, right? And so as it progresses and she's saying yes to dates more, I'm starting to build more trust with her. I'm starting to see that things we have in common. I'm starting to look at our lifestyles and if things are going to work long term. Then as it gets closer to the second month, I'll start assessing, okay, could this potentially be a long-term thing? The reason I don't do that so early on is because so many guys get tripped up into thinking like, oh, it's been 2 dates. And so she's saying things I don't think are going to gel well, so I'm out. And they don't give they don't give the relationship time to actually develop and grow. It's like taking a cake out of the oven. Like after, 2 minutes in the oven, you want to pull the cake out. And it's like the batter hasn't even gotten heated up yet, So you got to give that time. So, and I get the guys don't want to waste their time. Guys are thinking like, okay, like I know it's been like date 2, but I need to know where she's at with her feelings and if she's seeing other people because, I don't want to waste my time. Guys, ultimately, if you're with somebody for 20, 30, 40 years, you having to wait like 3 months to figure out where her feelings are at is not a long time. And I just start looking at it like that, where it's like, okay, even though I might know by date 3, and I've had women that I date, it's like by date 3, I don't know when to date her, but I knew that for purposes of this lasting a lot longer, it doesn't behoove me to do my agenda of it's been 3 dates, let me ask you to be the girlfriend, when that's not going to be beneficial to her and how she feels about me. So I just learned, regardless of like whether I see it going long term or not, that I'm just, again, I go date by date. I did this date well. Can I just get to the next date? And I know, and I trust the process to know if I'm just focusing on that, then her feelings will come. Her starting to want to text me more and call me more and spend more time with me will come. And I just got to do my part, which is being as patient as crap, So hopefully that answers that question. Okay. We got a question in the chat. The question goes, hi, Harry. A girl I am seeing recently asked if I was free on weekends. We currently have a date this Friday, but every time I ask for a date, she doesn't give me a straight answer unless I ghost or ask. She also initiated the post-date text, and we made out. Is she a good candidate to date? So I'm trying to say we currently have a date this Friday. Every time I ask for a date, she doesn't give me a straight answer unless I ghost or ask. I don't know what that means. Does that mean you're trying to you're having to double negotiate for her to say yes to a date? I assume that means that you're asking for a date, hey, so-and-so, let's go on a date. And then she's saying, I don't know, or maybe blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's stuff that's kind of annoying. At the end of the day, I care about, is she saying eventually yes to the date? If it's like pulling teeth, that's not the funnest version of this. And so that could mean that she has a level of interest, but it's not overly high. Women that have, this is like the Doc Love scale. Women that have 75% or more interest are going to be like yeses right away. Women that are still trying to get to know you and are like, maybe just starting to date you for the first time, they might still be in like the 55 to 65% range where you'll get yeses, but they're not right away yeses. She's still thinking, well, maybe, but maybe if I got other things going on, whatever. So I would say, as long as she's saying yes to the dates, you're good. I would keep an eye on how she's saying yes to them. But ideally, you're only asking out once a week to where eventually she'll start asking you for dates and she'll be more apt to be like, yes, right away versus like doing whatever kind of game she's playing right now. So ultimately, as long as you're getting yeses, you're good, but like keep an eye on it for now and keep us updated on the progress of that. So refreshing. So refreshing. All right. Let's see. We got a question in the chat, or this might be a comment. We'll see what it says. So this guy says, a few weeks ago at church, the series was called Intertwined. So the pastor had us get out our seats and say hi to someone new. Oh, I used to hate that in church because as an introvert, the worst thing is like, hey, everybody get up and touch somebody else and shake a hand and give a hug and introduce yourself. I still hate that to this day. So anyway, so he says, well, I was approached by a few, and one was a female saying that I looked familiar and whatnot. This was a week before Father's Day. Since then, we say hi to each other, but I always see her with a guy. Well, Sunday, we greeted each other and she asked for my number. I actually was going to ask, but she beat me to it. So I texted her when I got home Sunday, about 5 hours later. Oh God. Okay. Sorry. I'll continue. The texting went well. Then I noticed the texting was dying, so I let it be. I can't tell I said something wrong or not, so I didn't text her. So I didn't text her yesterday. I want to reach out today. By the way, she is single. That guy is part of the staff, so maybe he's trying to get with her, but she did make it clear she was single. She asked if I was single too. Even when she arrived during worship, she got my attention with a subtle back scratch and smile and sat in front of me. I didn't get to ask her to go out for a bite or something because I could tell the texting was dying and I don't get a big chance to chit chat. So would it be bad to reach out today? Sorry for all the comments. YouTube only allow so much. Simple answer. Why are you texting her chit chat? I'm getting on you because you're clearly, you watch a bunch of my shows. The number of times on this show that I've said the purpose of getting her number is to get dates and nothing else, to the point where I'm like, even if she gave you the number, women are giving you the number because they want to be asked out on dates. They do not give you the number for you to go home and then try to say, hey, so-and-so, and then try to have a long-standing chit-chat rapport. As you can say, I say on this program all the time that at the end of the day, women do not actually need you to be setting up these long-form texting conversations. And this lady literally just proved it because you told me that you text her about 5 hours later, and then the texting went well, and then the texting was dying because she got tired of you texting. And what she was also doing was she was sitting there thinking, oh man, he's texting me. That's so great. Hope he asked me out. Fast forward 2 hours later. Okay, clearly he's not asking me out. So I'm going to just go ahead and go on and hopefully he'll text me to ask for a date because that's why I gave him the number. So for you guys that are new to this program, we are not in the habit of teaching guys over here what kind of magic text to send that's going to make her laugh and build rapport. We're not about the rapport text over here. We use texting to ask for dates. So what you should do, guy, is reach out to her to ask for a date. You're not asking to ask how her day was. You're not reaching out to say, hey, tell me about what's going on in your life. And I just saw this show and it's so great. And let me send this meme and this video, and this emoji. Your goal for the number is only to ask her for dates. If she wanted to chit chat with you, she would have reached out to you to start that texting conversation. But she gave you the number because she wants you to ask her out. Here's the thing, guy. Women are rarely going to be the ones to ask for dates. The fact that she was bold enough to give you her number, that was as bold as a woman's going to get. But that sign for her was her way of saying, hey, dummy, ask me out. And you went home and did not do that. So we're gonna forgive that. Hey, she didn't text yesterday because she's not trying to give you the number to text you all day. She wants to meet you in a real capacity outside of the church where you guys can talk in front of each other. She can smell you, laugh with you, experience you in a real way, and then maybe lead to some other stuff. So all that to say, your next move should be hit her up to ask her for a date. Very, very simple. You hit her up. Hey, so-and-so. So I wanted to check out this new restaurant and wanted to see if you were free on this day or this day. Let me know which works best for you. And then shut up and wait for her to respond. Do not double text her this. Do not, if she waits a couple hours to get back to you, do not say, or we do something else, or I'm so sorry. Just send her the invite and wait and see what she says. Now, hey, based on how you text her yesterday, she could not respond, or she could be like, oh no, I'm busy, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to bang on the side of, hopefully it'll be a thing where she says, oh man, I'd love to go, blah, 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 blah. So do that. And then let us know how that turns out. But please, whether it's this girl or a future girl, when you get the number, that is not code for, I want to start a texting chat with you. Texting chats are for online dating when girls legitimately only get to meet you by way of texting. And even then, that should be minimal. Women that you've already met in person, who have already talked to you, who have given you the number, do not need you to do more texting to feel comfortable to go on a date. Ask them on a date now because you already got the number and they already have met you in some capacity. And her giving the number was code for, I'm already comfortable with you. Let's go do some stuff. But you're the guy. I'm leaving it in your hands to know what to do with this number. So know that what you're supposed to do is ask for the date. So hopefully it helps you out. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so we got that one. Let's see. We did that one. Let's see. Oh, this guy said, I agree with you. This guy, I mentioned during the broadcast about meeting friends and family and how important of a step that is, in spite of women saying it's the bare minimum. And this guy said, I agree with you about having the girl meet my friends and family. I usually wait 3 months for her to meet my friends, 6 months for family. Yeah, like, you know, guys that are trying to be nice guys and honest guys, they're just thinking, you know, hey, you know what? I want her to know my whole world. I don't want to play games. I want her to see that I really do value her just like I value my friends. And so, you know what? Hey, it'd be a great idea for her to also meet them. And that I found is typically the worst thing you as a guy could do. Again, it causes too many complications. There could be friends of yours that she meets that give her an impression of you that you're not trying to give. Because say you say I don't really curse a whole lot. Let's say I had a friend that's like overly crass and like drinks a whole lot. Now she's gonna be thinking, is that how he actually is? And I'm not. I don't drink a lot. I don't curse all that much in my real life. And so it's like, that can ruin an impression. Or you meet her friends, and then one of her friends doesn't want her to be with somebody because then they won't be single together. So she starts sabotaging. Versus when you had that 3 months in where you guys haven't met each other's friends and it was just you two, you guys are able to get a full impression of each other to where those other entities outside of you aren't going to be nearly as impressionable as they would be after 1 or 2 dates. So that's why I don't advocate for group dates early on, or for you meeting her friends or family, or for you making her meet your friends or family. Real talk. Okay. Continuing on, let's see here. All these people are why men have a red pill phase. Oh my God, dude. Man, like, just, you know, it's especially with social media these days, it's so hard to block out the noise of like what should work or not work. Even like, hey, even with you guys, like, you know, you listen to this show, I am part of the noise of the internet. And I tell you guys, hey, I've had my experiences. I think my stuff works great. I got programs, I got books, but you know what? Before you just blindly believe me, test this stuff out, because there are people that I followed that I had to test stuff out. Some of it worked very well. Some of it didn't gel with my personality, and I couldn't make it work. You know, to this day, like, I can do cold approaching, but that's not my strong point. I saw plenty of guys saying, oh, say this thing, and I would try that. I would get nervous, apprehensive, or I would say the thing and it wouldn't work. So, okay, that didn't work, but other stuff did. So, but yeah, like, women try to go in here and give advice thinking it's going to be beneficial and helpful, not realizing that, again, none of the stuff that they're saying matters when a guy that they're highly interested comes along. He could be breaking all the rules, and her brain and ovaries will justify why that guy is the exception to all the rules she set for herself. And that's a good thing for you as a guy to know, because then you'll know the difference between when you meet a woman that is highly interested versus a girl that's just kind of ho-hum. Because a girl that's just kind of ho-hum is going to have all these rules set, and she's just not going to break them. Whereas a woman that has high interest will be more than willing to bend on quite a few things, including herself. So yeah, all that. Let's see. Somebody keeps leaving comments about bless my kids with food, and I'm not keeping those comments around. So anyway, and then somebody said you should make a T-shirt that says hashtag bare minimum. That is hilarious. I may actually do that. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, guys, that's what we all got today. So 2-hour show, pretty solid. Hope you guys learned a lot about the ins and outs of what should be considered bare minimum and what's not, guys. I applaud your efforts. If you're a guy, now that said, if you are a guy that finds that maybe the efforts you're putting forth aren't gelling with women in general, like I always say, if it's like one woman, fine, she's crazy. If it's like 8 or 9 or 10 women that aren't gelling with what you're putting down, it could just be some simple mistakes that you're making. And so I offer one-on-one coaching at my website, introvertdatingsuccess.com. I also have my month-to-month program, the Introvert Dating Success Academy community, where you can communicate with me as well as other men and have access to all my programs, like programs I put out over the years that I was charging hundreds and or thousands of dollars for, programs that teach you how to actually get into relationships, how to do conflict resolution, how to do online dating the right way. I have tons of videos and audios where I interview experts on various aspects of, how to deal with sex and how to deal with women in communication and stuff in the dating game, like all these things that are available to you. Plus, I'm constantly putting out new content on that platform that you will not find on my YouTube or in the podcast space. And of course, we have the community where you can ask men, including myself, questions that are going on in your dating life, whereby you'll get a lot faster response. Like I do these videos now. I do these video casts once a week, and then I chop them up and put them out. But that's it. I do one new video on here a week. So if you want more, if you want answers to your questions in a faster capacity, then when you join the Introvert Dating Success Academy community, then you'll be able to get that as well. All right. So you can access all that stuff today at introvertdatingsuccess.com. If nothing else, go to the website, check it out. And if it's not for you, then it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? All right. We got a late question coming in. So, we got a late person coming in saying, hey, coach, I don't want to give this guy free clout. He's a YouTuber. However, he states to never cold approach unless the choosing signals are completely obvious. However, he is male model looking, so it may be easier for him. But he says, take time off to get yourself right mentally and in looks so that they approach you. Though it's not as likely as for them to approach, he states it can be. I'm kind of 50-50 on that. What's your take? You know what's interesting? I actually saw a video today that I was going to talk about, but I didn't have time to export it to my computer. But there's a guy on TikTok. His name is King something. He's like a 6'8", 6'8" tall black guy, kind of muscular, hair, whatever. And so there's video of this guy like just walking around, like on the beach, walking around in the city. And there's a guy that's following him that's taking footage of all the women that are reacting to this guy, right? So he walks by, he's like, oh my God, this is that. Oh my God, this is that. Right? And it's just like, it goes to like, again, whatever rules that they may have had at the point that they saw this guy, their ovaries are just churning and they're like, oh my God, this is like whatever. So, there are guys like that out in the world. They're hella tall or they got these model looks. And so admittedly, those guys have an easier time of women out there reacting to them, right? Now, here's the thing. Guys that are average height or average looks will see that and say, I have no chance because it's the height, it's the looks, whatever. And so if I try to cold approach a girl, but I don't have these things that these other guys have, then I'm going to completely fail. And it is what it is. As a guy that is 5'9.5", that has at times done some cold approach, I can tell you that's not true. But more importantly, I have men that I went to school with that are like 5'5", 5'6", that walked around and carried themselves as if they were men that were 6'8" and were model looks. All right. And so I don't want to discount that looking like you have model looks or being tall will not give you an edge up in your cold approach. It totally will. But a lot of the dating game also boils down to your mindset. The fact that the friends that I talked about have hot, gorgeous looking women that they are in long-term relationships with speaks to the idea of if you walk in with the right mindset, then there are women out there that they may not necessarily do that first look at you, but as you walk up to them, you're showing them confidence, you're asking about their day, you're making them laugh, you're building rapport, they're going to realize, oh snap, he's making me feel things. And at the end of the day, it's what you make a woman feel that's going to cause you to have success in your cold approach. Now, for a guy that looks like a model and a guy that's 6'8" plus or whatever, it's going to make it a lot easier for them to make women feel those things instinctively and overarily in their loins, But that doesn't mean you don't have a shot at that. It just means that you might have to have a little bit more game, whether it's like a little bit more knowing how to talk to women, a little bit more knowing how to approach them, how to get them comfortable. Like that might take a little bit more effort, but that doesn't mean that there's no effort there. Because again, I've seen guys probably shorter than you that have scored with women. I have one of my brother's friends back in the day used to take ballet, and as a ballet teacher, he's like a 5'3" white dude. Was dating some of the baddest chicks that I know. But again, he's walking with the confidence of a taller guy. And so there are taller guys that walk with short man's confidence and also can't get women. Even if their height initially draws women in, they start talking, oh, hey, what's going on? They start slouching over, start looking like less than. Women can read that too, you know? So all that to say, in terms of cold approach, I'm not a person that really preaches that too much on this channel, but I've cold approached at parties. I've accidentally cold approached women at bars before and had it work out. So it's a good skill to have because it's not so much about the cold approach as it is about your talk game. You need to get better at being able to talk to women so that way, whatever situation you're in, you can do it. Because you might be at a networking conference and all of a sudden a girl comes up to you, or you are asking for directions and then she starts having a conversation. That was cold approach. That was unintentional, you know? In terms of intentional cold approach, as long as you were able to know the kinds of things women want to talk about, you know, like how to transition into a conversation that makes you feel comfortable, then I say it's ultimately worth the exercise. But, you know, also, I'm all for also meeting women through friends and meeting women through online dating apps. Like, you should never turn down any avenue ultimately that's going to allow you to meet women and practice your skills. So that's my thought on that. So hopefully that gives you a better understanding. We got a question in the chat from a previous guy. He says, question, the same girl I mentioned earlier, right after she said yes to the date, she asked me a question. I didn't answer, and I haven't talked to her since Friday. The question is, are you an avid unsender? I don't know what that means. Exactly like that. Should I respond or can I just continue via the date? Well, so if your date is, let's see, trying to see when she said that. I don't know when the date's supposed to, okay, said you have a date this Friday. So if you have a date this Friday and she talked to you last Friday, here's the thing. I've said I'm not for you initiating text between dates. If she's reaching out to you, then it's totally fine to like respond to her. The end goal is we're not trying to get her into the habit of thinking you're going to be the guy that is texting her and calling her nonstop. That's not going to be you. In terms of her saying, are you an avid unsender? That sounds like a jokey question. Just send back a jokey response, you know? Like, I mean, are you trying to say you're going to unsend some things or like, what are you talking about? Like, make it jokey, make it, you know, funny enough, you know? And then she responds, again, texting should always be one-to-one. So she sent a text, you send a text back, maybe with a question with it, and then like you leave it to her to send the next text, all right? So yeah, if she's reaching out, that's totally fine to respond back. Like, we're not going to be like, yeah, Harry said, don't talk to her ever between dates. I didn't say that. I said, don't initiate. Big difference. All right? So this guy said, that's real. Got to have game and charm always. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to charm or be social, but force myself so I don't stop. Well, here's the thing. I get that, you know, if you're a guy, having to be charming when you're not used to being that way, it can feel like it's a role you're playing. I used to be bugged by that too. And then I realized on some level, we're playing roles with like everybody that comes into our lives. For example, as a grown ass man, I like to think that I can curse if I want to, you know? If I go around my mom though, who's still alive, she's in her 70s, I grew up in a house where that was not allowed. So I now got to play the role of a guy that does not curse when I go around my mom. And I'm fine with that because I'm respecting her place, you know? Some friends of mine, they want to talk about music stuff and movie stuff, and some friends aren't into that. I know with certain friends, hey, that's not going to be what they want to talk about, so I'm not going to bring it up. That's totally fine. So in the case of women, yeah, there's going to be scenarios where in order to get them to open up, you're going to have to probably like turn on some charm or, you know, say some words. Or in my case, I talk really fast, so I got to kind of talk slow like this a little bit because I know that, you know, talking too fast in the beginning freaks me out a little bit, makes me look like I'm not in control. So I got to kind of calm it down. Like, do you think I like doing that when most of my life is spent talking fast? No, but I know if I want to get the results that I want, I got to be that way. And then as she gets to know me, I don't have to do that as much. Like you being charming in the beginning, totally fine. You can not be as that level of charm in terms of like the suave talk and stuff like that as you get to know her more, and it'll be totally fine. But that first impression, the idea is we want to give her a first impression of you that is going to stay in her brain to where even if you're not acting like that, she knows you have the capacity to be like that. And so being a little more suave than usual is totally fine because again, we play roles for everybody we know. Let's see, one more question. Of course, we should talk to all women the same. However, did you ever find yourself with talking to a woman you're not attracted to, while the one you're attracted to watches you from afar. There's a comma there, so there's more. Is there more after that? I don't know. Look, my general program is this: is that I am going to be talking to all women the same until they prove a reason otherwise. So let's say I'm talking to from afar, but maybe then see. Okay, so full question. I'm gonna start it over for editing purposes. So this guy asked, of course we should talk to all women the same. However, did you ever find yourself with talking to a woman you're not attracted to, while the one you're attracted to watches you from afar, but maybe them seeing you talk to ones that are not attractive hinder your process? Like, why is he talking to her? So you're basically saying, like, if the woman that I'm attracted to sees me talking to a woman that's less attractive, is she going to be judgmental? I'm assuming that's what the question is. And here's my honest take on that, all right? Is that how men judge women's beauty is different oftentimes from other women. So you might think you're talking to a 5 or a 6 objectively, right? And what the woman that you like, that is looking at from afar, is thinking is, oh my God, what does he see in her that he doesn't see in me? Am I so ugly? Why isn't he talking to me? What can I now do to convince that guy to talk to me? So women are judging more on the fact that because you're talking to her, she must have higher status regardless of her looks. There are plenty of like plain Jane 5 or 6s walking around that when they go to a party, all the guys are on them because they have a good conversation. They know how to speak well. They're not so serious about things. And there are other women that are like 9s or 10s that are looking like, how is it that girl gets all the guys at the parties? It's because she is jovial and not super serious, you know? And so you got to take the lens of how women find other women attractive off of you, because they're viewing things a lot differently. And so if you're giving another woman validation, all the other woman is thinking for the most part is, I wish I had that validation. What do I now have to do to get him to talk to me? So that's actually to your advantage. So you should always be talking to all women at parties. Like I've told the story famously of, I was at a party one year for Halloween. I was dressed as Mario. There was a girl that came that she was like the hottest of the hot girls there, and all the guys were trying to give her attention. And I just set my timer like, okay, not yet. I need to be jovial, talk to other women, dance on the dance floor, give daps to other guys that are there. I'm giving social proof and peacocking, right? So then after like 45 minutes to an hour of doing that, then I went over to get myself a drink nearby where she was sitting, at which point she got up and walked right next to the punch bowl table, and now we're talking. Why does she do that? Because I just gave other girls in this room validation, and she also wants that. Also because, you know, I look good in a Mario outfit, you know? But she was peeping me the whole night. So by the time the end of the night happened, got her number, got a makeout session. At the point that we made out, I left. I left at the height of enjoyment. And then you know what I did next? Per the previous guy, I went home. I didn't text her for 2 days. And then I hit her up and said, hey, I got tickets to go see this movie premiere. It was like somewhere at the Grove. It's not like stars are there. Just like, oh, it's like a pre-screening of a movie. I said, I got tickets for a pre-screening, which is free. Do you want to come? Oh my God, sure, let's go. She showed up. I didn't pay crap for the date, and we had a good time. And then we made out again. And then fast forward to, we had a few good hookups here and there. Didn't last long, but the point is like all that happened, right? And so I say this to say that at the end of the day, women are using other women to judge their worth and how you view them, right? So take that lens of it, that if you're talking to other women, regardless of whether you think they're 10s or 5 or 6s, they're judging on a whole different scale. And all they're caring about is you're talking to somebody else, which means they're social proof. And the fact that she's talking back to you means that she is now validating you, and she needs to be validated also. It sounds stupid to guys, but I found that's what works. So run with that. All right. If you found that helpful, consider leaving a super chat or a Cash App, $ Harry Wilmington, whatever. Anyway, so that's all I got today, guys. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Introvert Dating Success podcast and video show. If you like what you're seeing, again, you can leave a Cash App, you can leave a super chat. At the very least, you can leave a like for this video and subscribe to the channel. And be sure to go to introvertdatingsuccess.com to check out all my programs, all my ebooks, and all the stuff that is involved in my Introvert Dating Success Academy community. All right. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I will catch you guys on the next show. I'm out. Peace.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class.